Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7. Did a lot of thumbnails today. Episode 7 of The Infinite. Today I'm joined by 80% of the cast. Well, a little bit higher because of how short Charlie is. But, gonna start. I was like, what insult am I going to throw at the absent person at the start of the session? And I couldn't get my head past a short joke. Anyway, say hello, everybody, except for Charlie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody, except for Charlie.
We're not good at that. We're terrible.
Yeah. It's hard because of lag. It's hard because of lag, but it was better without Charlie here. Like, Charlie's lack of commitment is really hurting the group for that. Good job. No experience.
Dang it.
I'm leaving.
You'll leave.
I decided.
Already.
This is the breaking point.
I've only got above average experience. But yes, how's everyone doing?
Doing
Great.
well.
Better.
I kind of messed up my sleep schedule this week. Not because I did anything. I just
too
didn't
much
keep
big
doing it.
rising.
Yep.
I went to bed too late last night, but that was my own fault. I was up playing a game, so.
Somehow
I
this
woke up
is,
at
9:30 last night.
somehow
I
this is
woke
the
up at
weekend.
3 o'clock.
Somehow this is the weekend where I didn't have work, and I somehow am just as tired as whenever I get off a 12-hour shift, and I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of V Rising, and that does not help my sleep pattern because of the times at which people are available. But also on top of that, it's just messed up. So I did wake up at 3 a.m. this morning and was awake for 7 hours.
I was up playing
But-
PSO with the new stuff that came out in the game, so.
All right, there are worse games you could have been up playing, I suppose. I'm trying to think of one.
I'm kind of scared to say what I was up playing now. There was a lot of
Was
pressure.
it League of Legends?
No, it was Deep Rock Galactic.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
That game's got good beer physics, so that's fine. I respect that game for that. I don't want to play it, but I respect it. Anyway, this episode is entitled It's Only Natural. No segue. Just saying.
Okay. Sure. I think this
Andrew,
is the first
I
time you've
understand-
ever mentioned the episode title.
It isn't. I sometimes mention it. Depends on how much of a spoiler I think it will be. Yeah, I mention it sometimes. Andrew, I understand the appeal now of being unprofessional while hosting. There's
It's
like a
fine.
freedom to it.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. Our scene opens on blackness. There's little clicks of like some kind of mechanical keyboard, which is unusual in these far off reaches of space. A couple of murmured sounds, and at this point, 3FL, I need you to make me a perception check.
Oh, coming in hot already.
Yeah.
This is why.
You missed it. You missed the session. You've got some rolls to make up.
Yeah, apparently. And perception.
I feel like this is going to be a strong roll. It's taking such a long time because it's going to be so good.
It's mediocre, but I added a lot to it.
I didn't see the outcome. What was the outcome?
Looks like a 9 plus a billion, so 17.
Weird. You kind of hear at the edge of your consciousness as you're awake, but your eyes are closed, which is unusual. And you didn't wake up because you felt something in your programming suggested you should wake up. You're just awake. And you hear at the edge of your perception with your eyes still closed, a voice say, well, you can see on the monitor here that what would be on a human, the synapses firing, they're happening while the casing is off. which tends to imply that some level of sentience has been reached. And you hear there's a voice that's a little bit softer and not quite so doesn't break through the space as much that you can't hear that responds. And the first voice goes on to say, I think it's probably already awake. And then you hear footsteps coming towards you, one from the left and one from the right. And another voice, this one more familiar to you, says, 3FL?
3FL-HQ sits up. Call acknowledged.
Yeah. Programming-wise, that shouldn't happen, right? And you kind of feel, with your general very acute perception, the change of body language that probably indicates no. Have you opened your eyes yet?
Yes.
So as you open your eyes, you see a quite tall, almost white, blonde white head figure. They are more cylindrical than they are a traditional body shape, and they have really brawny like arms, but they're in a wheelchair. But such is their size that even in the wheelchair, they're like over 6 foot tall. You've maybe seen this guy a couple of times. He does like the droid maintenance and has done maintenance on you, but you're normally off for these things. And on the other side, you see a much more familiar face. This is the person that gives you your general orders, the head of the robotic gardening division of the Imperial Gardens. And her name is Gizwain. She kind of smiles down at you and says, well, I suppose, welcome to the first day of your life. And she like reaches a hand out to you as you have seen people do to other people.
3FL-HU, it's a bit of a this motion, right? The instinct is to mirror what it or they, and that's a conversation that it starts having in its or their head. What am I supposed to do right now?
She says, well, you can continue with your duties as you like, if that brings you comfort. Samson here, and she gestures to the man, has pointed out that as you have broken your programming and become sentient, we do owe you now quite a significant amount of time off. So if you would like to take a day, that is up to you. However, the gardens are still your duties for as long as you would like to fulfill that. And we are here to answer any questions that you have about your newfound growth.
I should leave now. And 3FL-HU just stands up and starts scanning with their optical receptors for the nearest door.
Sure. So there's, at the back of your head, there's this feeling of like clutching for programming, clutching for what you should do. Somewhere in your code, surely there's a code for this specific thing. And as you look for it, what triggers is that kind of fight or flight. And you're like, I gotta find a door. And you find a door. There's like one that you realize this is actually a familiar space where you would probably be getting like a monthly briefing. So you come here quite often. And the door is there. It normally requires a card to get past, which you don't typically have, because why would you give a robot who only shows up on programming a card?
3FL-HU doesn't even like reach. If it's a door handle, doesn't start to reach for the door handle, but just sort of stands in front of the door, stares at the door, turns around.
Sorry. And you see Samson reach down to the smart pad, and his hand is like lightning as it just glides across the thing. And across like an intercom in the room, it says, Subject 3FL has been approved as designation Citizen 3FL. And the door opens for you.
But before it walks out, they turn around, or they're still facing the room now. What was I doing before?
You were having a routine checkup. Normally you would be powered off, and we would be checking to make sure that there were no maintenance issues.
I have a maintenance issue?
No, perfect, in fact.
I feel sick. I don't know what sick feels like. I think this is it.
They kind of look at each other and Samson kind of gives a gruff laugh and says, that has sometimes been my experience of what you're going through, of sentience.
I see. And 3FL-A2 turns back around, and the door opened.
Yeah.
Walks out and wants to find the last flower bed that they were working on before this previous maintenance cycle started back up.
Sure, it doesn't take you long. You still have access to the logs of what you had done. And as you kind of scan through, you use that to retrace your steps. And you appear in front of this quite ornate garden bed. It's one of the more manicured flower arrangements in the Imperial Gardens. A lot of them are a little bit more natural. This is very a very low-cut, trimmed hedge of interwoven, bright purple ivy in this deep green hedge. And then an equivalent to a bird of paradise, but it has a much more lily tapered neck to it, and it comes up to something that's a little bit more, has a bit more of the physicality of an actual bird rather than just a beak. They're very pretty. They're extremely expensive, these plants. Now you are realizing that you have access to information that your programming never looked at before. And you can see that these plants are valuable because that's in your database. That's a built-in thing to what you know about plants. Before they were just plants.
3FL-A2 acknowledges this thought, doesn't recognize it as a thought, acknowledges this thought and pushes it to the side a bit. Because what they're seeing for the first time is not that this particular bed is growing within the confines of its programming in what is essentially a good job, but is beautiful. And previously intending this garden, 3FL-A2 recognized that there was they have, a scent receptors, because in tending to a garden, touch and sight, all of your senses are just, please don't eat the soil, but maybe you do. But also this is a good and pleasant aroma. And I think 3FL-A2 is fighting with the itself versus the themself aspect in this idea of trying to go, wait, things can be good and bad versus things are what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. So there's absolutely this. It probably takes you a long time, getting to grips with this identity crisis within yourself of the dueling, of that, the intended and everything in its place and everything according to the program, to now, but what about that sound that I can hear? And what about that feeling that I am getting? And what about that impulse? And impulse, I think, is one of the first things that really like breaks you out of that, because you hear in the distance a thing that even one day ago wouldn't have mattered to you because it wasn't part of what you were doing. And you hear a like loud crash, and then somebody loudly swearing in a language that your universal translator in your head, which is censored at the moment because it's still running on your robot programming, is censored into like the most tame swearing possible. It's like not even, it doesn't even say bitch. It's like son of a parent. Like, it's not real swearing because your programming doesn't allow for you to really experience that yet. But that's coming from over in the distance. And for the first time, your attention is drawn by something not of your programming completely. And you see coming out of a small doorway into it's like a blacked out greenhouse that you're aware of, but you're not really sure what it is. Somebody is walking out and they're carrying like a broken pot, and you can see the smashed roots of the plant that was in it as it was dropped. And they're kind of looking furtively around, and they scurry off in another direction.
-2 in the back of their head goes, wow, this translation issue might present a problem in the future. I need to go and like deal with that myself in a bit. And then we'll follow the person who was swearing because they have an instinct about, hey, I think I can help here. I think I can. So I will follow the person with the smash pot.
They head to a place that you are more familiar with, where they're looking for essentially another pot to repot this plant as quickly as possible and potentially get it back. As you walk in, they don't notice you, but you notice that the pot where it's smashed, it's like a really traditional, like earth-style terracotta pot. But as you look at it, it's smashed, and the interior lining looks to be dry ice that is keeping the root system of this as cold as you could feasibly get. And as they're like looking through pots, you've been in this room repotting plants many, many times. And as you think about what's in this room and you think of your like database of the inventory of this room, these are all standard pots. They're not going to find anything that has the capability of keeping something at below freezing temperatures, if that is what that plant requires.
Excuse me.
What? And they look and they see, oh, a gardening robot. Sorry, did you need a pot? And they kind of move out of the way.
I need a pot and that you need a pot. May I offer a suggestion?
Sure. Yes.
If you are in a hurry, one, I don't think you're going to find the dry ice insulation in this particular room. I could take you there. I have all of our storage rooms sorted into different databases in my head. I know where they are. But if you're in a particular hurry, might I suggest maybe taking one of these and they pull one of the standard like pots of about the same size from one of the shelves. You can use this as a temporary solution, repot your plant in here, and I think you should be able to salvage some of the insulation from the broken pot. And that's a good temporary fix so that you actually have time to find what you need if you end up needing to order something.
Okay. How many ranks do you have in applied engineering?
Absolutely none.
All right. They look at you like the idea that you've just given them is fantastic, and then they say, "Oh, I'm not sure how I would do that. Can you? Is it part of your duty to fix these pots?" And they kind of offer the broken pot to you, and the inside, despite how cold it must have been, the dirt is almost like mud, and it's like dripping out of the pot. And you can feel the heat radiating off the root structure, even as it's like 5 or 6 feet away from you being offered to you by this person.
I must clarify that I am not the appropriate droid for this task. I merely was offering a suggestion. I can try, but I've never
sure.
tried anything before.
This person looks at you, and that you have a very good understanding of the way that people work, even at this basic version of yourself. And there's a moment where they are like, "This is so weird that I should turn my attention to that," and then they remember what they have just done, and they like remember the heat of the plant, and they realize that that is more pressing than whatever is going on with you. And they kind of push it towards you and take a step towards you. If you could try it, that's great. Otherwise, I'll get another pot and be ready to repot it. And they're like, they hand it to you, and they go to try and find another pot.
Can I try to point them to the actual location of where one of these pots, specialized pots, would be?
Sure, yeah, you have almost perfect recall of how to get around places here, so you can give them very good directions. That's fine. They kind of nod at you. They're dressed in very, very fine, like a silk hybrid type of outfit that looks a little bit like a sarong, but they're very pale porcelain colored skin, almost bone white, and very kind of. They're not thin, but their bones do kind of jut to give more form to their body than most people. But they say, "Thank you." And they kind of look to see if you have a designation showing somewhere.
Do you mind if I yoink this time to maybe do a quick description of 3FL?
Sure. Yeah.
They're not in their normal clothing right now. As we should all remember, 3FL-A2 is a relatively diminutive figure, dark gray metal that's like specifically dark, so it doesn't show like dirt. Its optical receptors are these bright blue to indicate to any organics, like if it's on, make sure that the organics node's functioning properly. It's got a utility belt across standard for any of these guardian droids that were like 3FL-A2 is like 10 years old. Across its chassis is this utility belt that holsters like spades and shears and different herbicides. And then right like emblazoned across its chest is the serial number 3FL-A2. And that's another one of those ways that you know that they're not like a particularly new model. Because most of the designators now aren't emblazoned on the chest right there, in addition to the fact that the serial number has that information sort of embedded inherently in it.
Yeah. There's a moment of like they're searching for something that's so in plain sight that it takes a little bit longer, and they go 3FL-A2. Thank you. I'll be back. And they like walk out of the door. Again, this is a door that would often require a pass. You have always had access in here because of your designation. They walk through it with a pass that they flash so quickly that even you don't catch it. But you're left holding an incredibly hot rooted plant.
3FL-A2 will like an instinct here that I don't know or they don't know if it's correct or not, is to like cradle it like a little bit close, because they have like their metal chassis is metal. It's dark. It's generally cool. And it will then try to execute the suggestion that they gave to the person who just left.
Sure. Roll applied engineering.
This isn't gonna go
Because
well.
this is absolutely the first thing that 3FL's ever tried that isn't programmed. This is the first free will attempted anything.
Do you want this to be a dex or an int? I know what I'd prefer it be, but
Yeah, it's int. Like, it's not quite so dexterous. That's not bad. We watch the camera pan around a little bit as you take the pot. You find one that's a very small amount bigger. You start trying to break away the terracotta outside to keep the insulation. The dry ice still is there, so there's no mechanism that's broken. There's some kind of refrigeration that keeps the dry ice at a very low temperature. That would need to be repotted for that reason. But as you start to try and do it, the camera, as we watch you, blurs and short circuits a little bit, and it begins to move through time, and we don't see the result of that plan. And we see instead the camera kind of come back into focus on the bridge in the botany lab of the Infinite, as then Locust is looking down at a healing stem that has been left on the counter of the lab at some point when you were not there. This is before you've arrived at the Imperial Outpost 281, so maybe 10 days in the past.
is that a question or was that a statement?
Statement is my slight accent of making everything be a bit of a question.
Locust is having a quiet moment to themselves. Which is something that they've learned to appreciate in the months since they first gained sentience. That's been an interesting like balance that they've had to, or an interesting like this idea that you need quiet when you have thoughts that aren't programmed is something that they're still not quite used to, because they're used to just being able to like whirl through their task list, but now they also have like intrusive thoughts that need to be settled. And I think something that they've been fighting with a lot recently as well is, what does it mean to have done a good job? Because in a very objective sense, a lot of the testing and development that they've been doing has been a job effectively executed, but it's hurt people, which is not something you have to deal with when you're just thinking about things from an optimization standpoint.
Yeah, when you have a program that doesn't require you to worry about the gray of the world. And particularly in the last few weeks from this moment, there has never been more gray in the world of any of you on board the ship. But Conifer in particular, Locust in particular. And yet, nobody comes into your lab, and there is a healing stim sitting here, and it's not one that you made, because you can see the manufacturer mark on it.
Oh! Oh, Kristen Evans had forgotten about this. Oh no. In this moment of quiet and stress, I don't think that 3FL or that Locust had recognized that this wasn't one of their healing stems. And after this moment of quiet, like, they go back to their workstation, and that's when this hits them. This isn't something that I made.
Yeah, it's so close. It's like the diameter is slightly wider, and maybe what like really clicks it that you need to look at it closer is that it wouldn't fit for you to use through your like hand built medicine distribution system. It's like slightly misshapen for that, and when you look at it, you see there's this really tiny mark on it that is so familiar to you because you have the same mark, and you have the mark like on your inner elbow, on your left arm, where it just says it's like an emblazoned eye, but like those really ornate, like chapter starting eyes from Old English lettering, and then a really, really perfunctory P, and it stands for Imperial Productions, which is the company that you can tell made this stim, but it's also the company that made you. Your programming is bespoke, but your chassis is Imperial Productions.
Shenanigans, no thanks. Can I make a ending check here to see if maybe Locust can pick up on the fact that maybe someone's feeling like they're having to pay off a debt or something like that?
Yeah, you can make an understanding check. I will certainly allow you to try to make an understanding check.
I mean, I'm good at that.
Yeah, it's an incredible logical like series of parts to get to. These are my favorite types of rolls.
Well, I got a 20.
I would say, due to the nature of the system that we use for the Infinite, that while a 28 is very good, I think that it would require a little bit more because of the top end of what you could roll. However, absolutely, you can tell that somebody has given this to you. Like, it's placed directly in a place that you will find it. You can't find the reason that anyone would feel like they owed you that debt. But you could certainly also ask Teresa, who is omnipresent. How useful she will be, who knows? But you could do that. But otherwise, certainly one of your crew did it.
I think that I'm not going to press this any further with Teresa.
Sure.
And that Locust will accept this as a gift. So I think that's what they are. The thought process that then happens is, oh, one of my crewmates decided to leave this anonymously. They recognize that the role that I am playing on the ship is one of the healer, and I understand that organics tend to like to give gifts in association with what they think of their fellows as. So this is an appropriate gift, even if it's not something that I would choose for myself.
Exactly. and we for transition's sake, you take that moment of like quiet that you were having and then continue it, and you turn to the back of the lab, which as you know, nobody else on the ship knows this, but that wall is a window that just can open up, and it is open at this time. And as we see the camera from your point of view, we skip forward in time a little bit as we see now the camera not from now Red Clover's point of view, as we see you standing at a window. At the same window. You've just heard, I think over the intercom, Valis suggests that there might be something you want to see. And out this huge window where you have, it's more than, like, a little bit more than 180 degrees because you can kind of step out a little bit into the window space. To your left, in the far, far off distance. No, to your right, this one. To your right, in the far, far off distance, you see a semi-translucent, beautiful, it is approximately a whale, but it has these enormous, like, manta ray style wings, and it floats more part of the galaxy than anything you've ever seen. There's like a connection in your brain where that understanding part of you lives, where it's like, you think that of Icthir Brune as someone that's probably very connected to the galaxy because of the nature of the way that they look. This transcends Icthir Brune. It makes Icthir Brune look like something alien to the entire galaxy. This is what the galaxy is, as it floats, both a physical creature in the infinite and made of the stars itself. How does that make Red Clover feel?
The very first obvious through line that I pull here is Red Clover saying to themselves, they're beautiful. And then the follow-up thought floating through space, we're very different, and in that way we are the same.
I think on we get that like as an internal monologue as the audience, and we move forward 2 days to now the ship landed on the platform of intelligent growth. You're all out of the ship at this point, and a quite squat woman in like a boiler suit. It's not dissimilar to the one that Nyx wears, but they're like looking up at the hull and turning back to Nyx and the rest of you and saying, "You see, the problem is the whole front of your ship's fucked. See here? That's not meant to look like that. We've got parts we can sell you to fix it, but we don't have the manpower or person power to really fix it for you. Do you have a mechanic crew?" He kind of looks towards Valis, who has, I suspect, announced that you are the captain when you came off the ship.
I just gesture at Nyx.
I'm not going to do an impression of Charlie, although
Sorry.
I did work on one, knowing that they weren't going to be here. But Nyx like and says, "Oh, okay, Captain, I can do it." And like the two mechanics kind of go off and start to work on that stuff. I can't quite capture the manicness of Nyx. That's the problem, because I can't let my brain get there. But they will, for standard price, sell you anything you need and some extra fuel if you need it as well. Nyx won't get all that work done, probably, in the amount of time you hope that this job takes. But are you taking Alejandro with you into?
Yeah, if Nyx is going to be at the ship, I don't see a reason not to.
he joins you. As I said, this is a very open-looking area. It looks. I thought about it more since last session, and it looks kind of like the front of an airport, where it just has the giant name of intelligent growth, and it's very open air. There's a bubble, a lithosphere bubble, that's kind of keeping all the atmosphere in. It's very temperate. And as you walk in, you walk under this huge flat roof, and then that opens up. And now this area is filled with a lot of the same trees, but trees in the nature of walking into like a woodland area as opposed to walking into a manicured orchard. And kind of sitting at a desk that has a lot of ivy creeping up the left side, and then the rest of it is kind of covered with moss, is a relatively plain-looking person there, kind of swiveling in their chair a little bit, knowing that you're coming. You've landed a little bit ago. The mechanics came out first because the front of your ship is, as they said, absolutely fucked.
Just at the guy. It's not even that bad.
But the receptionist for Intelligent Growth kind of stands as you approach and says, hello. Hopefully you are here about the job listing that we posted on the system network.
I forward this one to Lucira. This is your bag.
Yes, we are. We are interested in it, but also are curious what your offer is compared to Black Sky Botanicals' job of a similar nature.
Of course. I'll just give me one moment, and they press a button on the intercom, and they say, "Mr. Balketh, there's some spacefarers here about the job," and you kind of just get a buzz back. Well, they get a buzz back as the person like just ends the intercom. They say, "Just a mere moment, and Mr. Balketh will be with you." You see it's an elevator, but it has no outer railing or anything. It's like occupational health and safety wise, Lucira, it's bad. But
Yeah.
it kind of descends from the ceiling, and then it hovers about 2 feet off the ground so as to not touch the grass that is naturally growing in here. And off that, my brain's like, it's an anime scientist. Because that's kind of what he looks like. He's got a very, very dark skin, very like slicked back black hair, glasses, and a lab coat. And then under the lab coat, he's wearing a shirt and a tie, and the tie is green, not quite the same green as Valis's, but
This
green.
bastard stealing my tie color choice.
And he walks over, puts a hand like fondly on the receptionist's shoulder, and then walks around the counter and says, it's great to meet you all. My name is Argyle Balketh. He waves back to Conifer. I am happy to answer any questions that you have about the job. I understand that there is a similar job floating around from Black Skies, but we can talk about it. I suspect we are offering more money.
What's his name again?
Argyle Balketh. But Argyle is fine. He'll say Argyle is fine.
Is it Balketh or Balgath? How are you saying this?
Keth, with a Keth at the end.
Balketh.
With a cat at the end?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. I was writing names today, and I was like, why has everyone got an ETH name at the end? I'll get into this.
Sometimes I do that too, where I'm like,
but he
these all sound
he gestures for you to walk with him through the woodlands. That Intelligent Growth has kind of it goes back a long way. Like, this is a significant space that is quite naturalized looking woodland.
Well, and we're on a moon, right? Like a big
Yes.
ass moon.
Ron, yeah. Avinus,
Not that big.
1 or 2.
Well,
Yeah, Avernus 1 or 2. You're
Avinus
on.
1.
That sounds right.
As we start walking, I'm just gonna like look at the very not safe elevator until I can't until it turns my head.
It also goes up a long way because these trees are big. Like
Yeah.
they're not short trees, and it has to go up to another level. But it
Okay.
moves very slowly and it looks very steady, despite the fact that it seems to be running on some form of magnetism.
Kidren will push down the odd familiarity of seeing natural growth surrounded by artificialness.
Sure. He says, so, we are Intelligent Growth. We are a subsidiary of, well, I'm sure you found that out. Kind of looks across you to see if you did. He's kind of gauging how much.
Relixis? How do I say that?
Relixis Instruments, of course. Yes. But yeah, it's like that kind of test where it's like, well, how much have you actually studied for the job interview that you're coming to? He says, yes, Relixis Instruments, exactly. Did you have any questions before we start? I'm happy to walk you through it, but...
I can't think for a second.
What's the primary, the job oh my god, I cannot speak this morning. I'm so sorry. The job description listed that we would be picking up materials of some kind for research from Gilnaus. Can you elucidate on that or elaborate on that more?
Of course, we had a different party. The nature of the permits that we got from the Imperial government to operate around Gilnaus is that we do not have permits for ourselves to go to the planet. I'm sure you understand it's cheaper to get the subcontractor role to do it. Because then they know that we're not going to be going back and forth and disrupting the natural environment any more than we need to. So we hired at quite exorbitant cost a supposedly well-known botany team. They went down to the surface. They packaged up a lot of flora-based materials for us. They brought it back, and we realized that they had left behind 3 crates. These crates were significant in that they were around 30% of all of the material that they had collected. However, they had a very strict time limit and said that they didn't have time to go back and pick it up. It's only a 2 or 3 hour round trip. There's no spaceport. Your ship wouldn't be able to land, for example. But it's only a 3 or so hour round trip. They categorically said they couldn't do it. So we came to an arrangement which led to us not recuperating quite as much of the fee that we should have. Nevertheless, it's the cost of doing business. We just need someone to pick up the crates.
You're not like an understanding of like, oh yeah, subcontractors. This is what my bread and butter. I'm used to this. But she's also
and Valis is like, what?
Can I make an
but
understanding?
She's also a little bit like,
sorry.
Why, if it's only such a short trip, why wouldn't they have just gone and done it for the full payout?
Mm-hmm. Anyone can make an understanding check.
Yeah.
Or a bureaucracy check.
I don't trust anime scientists.
That's the problem with describing anyone as an anime scientist. Lack of trust immediately.
The dice spot seems to be slightly...
No. Application did not respond.
Okay, it looks like that time it maybe worked. Maybe. Okay, yeah, I rolled a 12.
Dirty 20 for bureaucracy. You said bureaucracy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's not my reliable. Shit. It's a 13.
Yeah. So, Lucira, yeah. Subcontractors are bad. They're like the worst people to deal with. And there's a reason that the Empire charges more for you to have the permit, because then you can fix this problem. But for everybody else, it seems like a lot of money to leave behind. Like, if it's a 3 hour trip, it seems like a lot. Kid in particular, if it was the Red Riders and you had some place to be in 2 days and you were going to be there in 2 days and 3 hours instead, you would have taken the extra money of finishing the job and then go somewhere in 2 hours and 3 days. So there's potentially something else about their operation or about this side of the operation that he either hasn't gotten to yet or he's trying to keep back. But you can't tell which of that it is because yours was a bureaucracy role.
So, how big is this cargo? Like, are we going to need haulers? Are these liftable?
We have haulers. I assume that you will take our shuttle unless you have your own shuttle, but we have some hydraulic lifters that you can take.
So they're big.
Yeah. Yes,
I
I
mean, he didn't answer the question.
Yeah, he has the decency to look a little bit like, oh, you're right, I didn't answer the question. I answered part of your question. I understand my fault. And he says, I certainly think that someone could lift them. They're about 2 feet by 2 feet. If you're a big enough person, you could lift them. But most of the time, the lifters are fine. I also don't know the weight of what's in them. I suspect they are full, so they will be pretty heavy.
And so, am I to understand? This is me trying to read between the lines here. Perhaps, maybe you don't have to answer. Is Black Sky trying to have somebody go down and take these for themselves, or do you just happen to both be having a similar job at the same time?
We sent a joint task force, and we were meant to get half each.
Okay.
This amount was due to come to 2 of the crates were to us, 1 crate to the other team. But you could say that we have equal claim to both. We both have equal claim. We were at one point far closer allied than we are now. It's been a long time since anyone that is a private contractor has come through this system.
Well, there seems to be some strange business on the outpost. I won't bore you with the details. The question of our lives, how much is the pay?
We will pay you 15,000 credits per crate.
Okay.
I said that in a strange way. 45,000 credits.
Right.
Please bring all the crates. Please do not bring some of the crates. That is a problem that we have already had.
Is there anything dangerous?
Concerned about?
Yeah, about this place.
There is a predator animal species. There's a food chain down there. There's no civilization, but there are animals. There were no animals that caused significant problems to the last team.
What do you consider to be a significant problem?
The reason that they took so long to finish their assignment was not because of problems from the planet itself. It was problems with the work ethic of the team.
They took a job.
He kind of looks at all of you.
And then realized they were late.
Yes, what we should have done was before we left, and if you take the job, we will do this. We should have made sure that they were not carrying any illicit substances or large quantities of alcohol.
Well, I don't know about large quantities. I have some.
Alice.
Hey, I'm just being honest. I'm presuming that they're going to ask about this.
You do.
Well, that's on the ship.
Red Clover, you do notice that he bristles. It's almost imperceptible, but your natural understanding is that he's like, I don't appreciate that as a point to bring up.
We're not carrying or planning on leaving anytime soon. We're not carrying anything illicit. I don't mess around with that kind of stuff.
Sure. Just to clarify, I don't care if you are. Just don't take it with you to do the job for which we are paying you.
No, all of our supplies will stay on our ship while our engineer fixes our hull damage.
Yes, I saw that. These things happen in the outer rings of the galaxy.
Is there a visible reaction? Is there a visible reaction from Alejandro when he's informed that he's with us, right? That there is no alcohol to be brought up on this mission?
Not well, If there is a visible reaction, it's not one of, oh, I'm sad that I can't drink on a 4-hour job for which we are getting paid 45,000 credits. Like, it seems like a, if anything, professional aloofness to these negotiations.
You seemed pretty confident whenever you first brought it up that you had an approximate, well, a rough estimate, I guess, of how much the other side is paying for this. Well, you said you guessed that you were probably paying more. Why do you think that?
Oh, because I know that from when we began the joint sending down of the original botany team that we had a higher budget for this kind of thing. So they might be reaching into another part of their budget, but our planetary team fund was higher than theirs. And I know that we recuperated slightly more than 45,000 credits. Not that I'm willing to pay you slightly more than 45,000 credits.
Yes.
If I have this isn't necessarily important to the acceptance or declination of declination.
Sure, that's a space word. If it's not a word in on Earth, it's a space word now.
Of this job, but I just wanted to take a moment to say that I think that your office space is quite lovely. And unrelated, what is the nature of the research that you are doing?
We are researching a particular type of plant. It hovers in a bubble of water which it carries around in its roots. And we're interested in the fact that it can live in such an unusual state. It's technically like a hydroponic plant, but it requires no surface of the planet or the station to touch. It's very fascinating.
That is, I'm very excited to get down there and see this. Then, if I may, why are you competing with this other company in this research? Are they not interested in the same things?
Originally, he's going to make a roll. Kind of looks across all of you, and I think he's decided that you're going to take the job, so he's going to be candid. If he had rolled better, I might have asked you, but he didn't roll better. He says, when this endeavor started, it's obviously a long way to come out here with research teams. It was originally planned by the two presidents of the company. I am the vice president of field research. I run this facility. But originally, the president of intelligent growth had a partner, and they had worked together to set this up. They had a falling out. It became difficult contractually for either to get out without buying the other out, and they couldn't afford it. So they decided to vie for the same research to publish the paper first. And whichever company does that will succeed, and whichever company doesn't will be black skies.
That truly just broke my soul as an academic trying to fight for publication.
Mm-hmm. I just sent the paper off yesterday to my advisor. I hate this.
This is the true horror. I was going to do an aliens themed one. This is the horror.
That's the only bad thing about this mission, is choosing who gets credit.
Red Clover has no knowledge of such things, however.
What is credit?
Well, that seems a bit counter to the name of your company, Intelligent Growth.
The growth could be intelligent, but the bureaucracy in which we have to thrive is not.
Clover is going to throw this one to Lucira in a
get me out of this.
Lots of throwing around.
Like completely understanding, like, yes, bureaucracy is what slows things down normally, and she has it's like a knowing and slightly apologetic smile of like, I've been
Yeah.
where you are with other people.
Absolutely, they would have finished. They would have finished this if not for there being two things on these two moons dealing with this nonsense.
Yep. Well, Captain, what do you think?
I think, yeah, it sounds simple. We will talk to Blast Guys and then get back to you.
Sure.
If that's agreeable with you, of course. We just want to make sure.
I would rather you just take the job from us, but I understand that much like the Empire and the two owners of the company, well, the presidents of the companies, everybody must do their due diligence. There are always two sides to the same coin. Well, not always. There are three-sided coins. That's really not a good analogy. But
we don't really have coins very much anymore anyway, so.
Oh, I have a fascinating coin collection. I can show you.
I'd be interested in that.
He is pulling out of his pocket this coin, and it's a cube. And as he he does the finger roll, he's not very good at it, and it's also a cube. But it's like rolling a d6 down his fingers, and it drops into his palm. And then as it comes back up, he pushes on it, and it collapses into a single square coin. He says, "These are fascinating. They haven't been used for hundreds upon hundreds of years, but the metalwork is beautiful. These were worth the equivalent of 5 credits. Can you imagine putting that much work into this?" And he holds it out, and as he holds it out, he flicks it and hits a corner, and it pops back into being a cube.
Lucira is fascinated with this little metal coin.
We abstract through you buying the material to fix the ship, and then Nick's about to start working, and you all telling Nick that you're going to the other moon.
Can we just call them? Do we really have to go all the way?
You could call them. I mean, it's theoretically possible that this business has a log that checks all calls coming in and out. But if you don't care about that, you absolutely could call them. That's close enough.
In the sense that the conversation would be monitored, or that they would just see that we would be calling them?
The conversation could be monitored. It would be within their rights as a business, since they own this space.
Is that something that Nyx could do around?
Yeah, but I'm going to roll a willpower check because Nyx has been on the bad side of some hacking lately.
Yeah, they haven't been rolling super great, but...
Not that they haven't been rolling well, but I feel like they might be a little bit gun-shy, as it were.
Especially with the talking to I gave them.
Yeah, particularly with the mild scolding.
Mild scolding and paying a 2,000 credit fine.
But whoever is asking Nyx can also roll a leadership roll.
Yeah, I think that would be me.
Since you're asking.
I mean, if Lucira asks, Nyx will just do it, but... if the real captain asks.
Lucira is also very openly just wearing her Imperial suit. Jumpsuit, so.
16.
Alright. I have to get Charlie's sheet open. I'll roll it before the sheet loads. It's just a d20, because if it's very good. Slash roll d20. No, they are not going to do it, despite your compelling argument that it will help you.
Maybe, I mean, in game or out of game. Would this be illegal? Do they have a legal right to monitor us?
They do, because it's their complete private space and it's their network you're going through. So legally, they are allowed to do it. And Nyx is unsure about the legality of breaking through that encryption, and is thusly unwilling to do it.
So, can we just fly out and then call them, and not have to go all the way to the planet?
You could. It would be a less quality call because you're calling without like a strong network. It's your ship sending out a message and then it will come back at time. But yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
This would be like an instant call if you did it from here.
Otherwise, it's going to take like a full day to get there, or is it?
No, it's a moon of the same planet. It's about 15 minutes maximum.
Okay. Sorry,
You
the travel distance on this is highly abstracted, so I'm not sure how long in-system travel takes.
It's very, very quick to get anywhere that's within one planet's orbit.
Okay, well then, never mind. Forget. I wouldn't have even asked if I had known that.
Yep.
I had assumed it would be like 8 hours.
Nick's is like, it'll only take like 15 minutes to get there, Captain. And then we abstract to you being on the ship.
Yeah.
No. But Valis knew that. All right. You land in what is essentially a sunken ship pad. Only one ship could really land here at any given time. There are a couple of smaller shuttles.
This is the crappy one.
It's about maybe 80 feet deep, and the outside is pitch black, except for when your ship locks in, and then lights flicker one at a time, slowly leading towards an entrance, at which a door opens and a slice of light comes out. It's the most orchestrated thing that probably most of you have ever seen. It's like so dramatically orchestrated for you to be drawn to this door.
Lucira just kind of doesn't if anyone's perceptive enough, you'll see a very slight roll of her eyes at this theater of just people trying to get in from their ship.
Kidren is just staring straight ahead and not even really to anyone, just to themselves. This is somehow more annoying than the coin collection.
Yeah, what was with that guy? Lucira, he seemed very interested in you.
Well, my family is metalsmith, so actually I was quite interested to see how that coin worked. That's all.
Right.
People have their little things that they like. Not gonna fault them for that.
Well, I suppose that's fair. Okay, well, I will get in contact with whoever is listed as the contact on the ad.
When you try, are you just trying to call to them, or you want to walk to the dramatic door?
I will. I think I more meant like I'll send them a ping like we're here about the job and then exit the ship.
Anything that you try and send actually to anyone comes back as unsendable.
Okay.
It will not send.
I will walk towards the spoopy door.
As you walk towards it, it opens, and the light is so bright that you can't see into it. The blackness out here, and then the light. And as you
now I see where all the money went.
As you hit the threshold, you step in underneath what is a blinding spotlight just aimed at this door. And in front of you, there's a reception desk, behind which there is a large monitor. And on the monitor, there is the face of a possibly attractive alien who's got got a nose that has all of these multiple ridges, and each ridge is pierced with a bit of gemmed jewelry. And the face says, "Hello, welcome to Black Skies. You must be here about the job." They might wave back at you. You can't tell their face on a monitor. "You must be here about the job listing?"
Yes, that would be correct.
"Excellent. We have a job listing for people to go pick up some crates from the surface of Guildhouse."
All right, and how many crates?
3 crates.
Okay.
They are heavy, but we have loaders because. Do you have a shuttle of your own, or will you need to?
We have a ship, but it's my understanding that there's no landing platform.
Your understanding is that there's no landing platform. There isn't a landing platform. A shuttle can get in, but a ship of your size would really struggle.
Yeah, so,
Uh,
yes.
Sure, well, I'll tell you that we're offering 30,000 credits for the 3 crates.
For the 3 crates.
Well,
Anything you would tell us more about these crates?
Sorry, Kristen, you dropped out in the first half of what you said. Could you repeat yourself?
I just said why, but I think that's Dallas is asking a better question.
The crates contain biological matter that has been collected for us by a previous team that let us down pretty significantly.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything we should know? Any particular dangers or?
Look, you've obviously spoken already to the other corporation, and I suspect that you already know that our offer isn't matching theirs.
Yes, I do.
So here's a deal that I will make for you. We'll give you 20,000 credits to take a crate, bring back 1 crate to us, give them 2 crates plus the crate we give you. You take their money, you get 20,000 credits from us. We get some things that we can research. And 16, 18 months from now, we'll discredit their paper based on the fake material that we give them.
So you're asking us to give them an empty crate? Or
No,
a
it's full.
crate?
Crate will be absolutely full of very important, real biological matter that they will definitely do all their due diligence in checking. They won't make assumptions based on.
You're certain they won't?
Are you? I think I and Balance are both confused. Maybe it's like trying to look at Lucira. Like, what is he trying to say? Is he trying to say that like they're just bad at their job, or?
So you're assuming that they're not going to uphold themselves to the scientific standards which their field of study requires.
Sure, because they're in a race with us.
And are you going to hold yourselves to the same standards?
Well, we know that theirs is wrong. So we just need to wait for them to publish, and then we'll tell the world that they're wrong. And people will remember the name of Black Skies because we've discredited their claim. That's how you really get famous.
But
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I don't care.
What research are you
decided I
working
don't
on
care.
currently?
We're researching a plant. It's fascinating. It's got this bubble of some kind of hydrogenated liquid, and it floats above the ground, and its root system is hydroponically kept alive in that bubble. It has no connection to dirt. It's one of the few instances of a completely planetary surface-free flora that we found in the entire galaxy.
Okay.
I have a question, too. Who are you? You're just a face on a screen.
Oh, that's they pop out of the screen,
Take my head
and
slap.
the screen has kept your attention, and just behind the reception desk there's a door, and they open the door and they wave at you, particularly at Conifer.
Kidren full body turns to just look at whoever is by them, which is a pure expression of this fucking guy.
I think Val's is right there with you. Like, what was the point of this whole thing? Why are we getting Wizard of Oz?
Have you?
Yeah.
You've never dealt with a Void Art subsidiary? We're quite tame, and they close the door and they go back to the monitor. That's just their contractual obligation.
Okay, I'm just like, I think I asked them. I'm like, is this part of you guys have to do this? Is it part of the company thing?
There's an aesthetic aspect to being connected with
Someone
Void
who
Art?
has
I
dealt
can
with a lot of
understand
workplace safety issues, that blindingly bright light that is on when we open this door to get into this space is very unsafe for
Sure, but we
anyone.
have elevators with railings, so if you're going to really level anything anywhere, And then the face turns to Red Clover, who I think had a hand up. And they are respecting the hand.
That is, Red Clover has learned that this is a thing that they need to do. I am just a little bit confused as to your intent. You say that you want to research this particular plant, which I agree is very fascinating. I'd be interested in reading out the reportings of your findings, since I don't know how much time I'm going to be spending here to do the research myself. But this is the same goal as the other company. But then you say your goal is to get famous. What is your goal?
Well, our goal is to, using the researching of a fascinating and once in a galaxy plant, make a name for our company, which we can then leverage into other higher paying research. Also, just for the record, we paid the full amount towards that joint team, and we didn't get any compensation, even though most of those crates were meant to come to us. So, like, there's a lot of things going on here that are difficult to explain. I'm just trying to offer you a way to make more money, and ultimately, we're kind of owed a bit of money from the other company anyway.
Sure. So you didn't get any crates?
We got some crates.
Okay.
The team was not so incompetent that we paid money and got nothing.
Got it.
They were just mainly incompetent.
And you're willing to sacrifice your own personal integrity just to get one over on intelligent growth?
Well,
personal integrity really is written by the winner of these kind of things. We won't publish anything that's wrong, because we wouldn't do that. Because we have a name to uphold. If they choose to do that, which they will. Sure, yes.
Sorry, I'll like raise my hand there at the end when I say, listen, I don't really have skin in the game here, but have you imagined a scenario where they publish and there's nothing to refute?
Sure, but we're also going to keep working on the research with what material we have. We may still beat them to it, but given the disadvantage that we've been dealt in this particular situation, my higher-ups suggest that trying to maybe regain an advantage would be in our best interests.
Well, I mean, they told us that you were supposed to split the crates already, so I don't really see very much of a problem with this. I will confer with my crew, and I'll let you know in a couple minutes.
Sure, we will track the other crate so that we know where it goes to in their thing, and if it just gets jettisoned into space, we're probably not going to pay you. And by probably, I mean we're going to hold you in breach of contract, and you're going to pay us.
How bad were these people? Like, why would I do that?
Well, we paid them somewhere in the vicinity of 320,000 credits, and they didn't want to do the extra 3 hours of work of fixing their job. So we're all a little bit nonplussed with the private contractors around here. Yeah.
Well, as I'm sure you can
yes.
see.
Right.
Sorry, the one has a hand up.
I'm so sorry.
Never mind.
All right, let's mosey on out of here.
But before we go, I would actually be interested in seeing your research facility.
Given that I already know that you've been to Intelligent Growth, I'm not really comfortable with letting you into our research facility. If you do the job for us and deliver the crate to them, I'm happy to show you around, because then I'll know where your allegiances lie.
Yes. Because we're going to be transporting this plant, not a large distance, but we are going to be transporting it, and I don't know anything about this particular specimen. I am a xenobotanist by trade. I'd like to know the best way to transport your goods.
Sure. They ask you an intricate question about a plant that I can't be bothered coming up with, but make a xenobotany roll. How many fronds does a sub-zero frondless hypotenuse have?
Is it from
Cool.
Bractea or Milan?
Well,
European.
they immediately know that
Kristen
you
do.
don't.
Kristen do.
They know that you don't have anything, Valis.
Oh, man.
That's a plantless planet. Yeah, so just make a xenobotany roll.
I lost the dice roll channel for a bit.
I always do that. Yeah, they buy that you're a xenobotanist, and they're like, "All right, I'll send you the specifications of the crates that we sent down because they should already be sealed."
Yes, that is appreciated.
They send through a thing that is essentially they are crates that are meant to be filled with water, and they just have the root system in it. But then also one of the crates that's missing is meant to have like the flowers, and they're like meant to be flash frozen, so because they don't bloom very often. And there's a little bit of information about the plant with this, but not an enormous amount. Also, the answer was 5 fronds for future reference.
That was frondless.
Yeah, that's what the trick is in the question. Frondless is its genus. It's not.
We back
indicative
up to
of
the ship. I think.
Oh boy.
Sure. There's a couple of mechanics that have like come out, and they're dressed all in black, so they're very hard to see out here. And one of them's talking to Nyx, and he's like, "You see, the problem is that the front of your ship, it's fucked." But we flashed back to the bridge where you're all talking.
Did they have the decency to at least like keep the lights on for whenever we did our dramatic stroll to the glowy door, or did they go off when we left?
No, the lights stayed on.
Okay.
The trick doesn't work in reverse. They don't care about the audience leaving is not part of the performance.
Ooh.
This is really indicative of all void art experiences that anybody has had, by the way. All of them are like this. You buy a new phone and you have to solve a cryptic to get into it.
Oh god.
They're the worst.
Got like a Rubik's Cube my way into a business deal. Sorry, go ahead.
Kidren won't even let Valis even begin to speak. And okay, look, if we go with the other people, we lose out on 5,000 credits for the price of not having to deal with that, whatever that was again.
I agree. I'm perfectly fine with that, and it doesn't
I will
sacrifice my
note
morals.
that based on what they offered, you would be losing out on 20,000 credits. They're willing to give you 20,000 credits, but you'd still get paid in full by intelligent growth, provided that you're willing to fully
that's
scan
true.
them.
And Ammons agree that was too much. That is 20,000 credits worth of too much.
Wait, so I'm confused now because I thought I understood their offer, and maybe I don't.
They were going to offer us 20K to give them that one crate that's meant to be theirs, and then we would give the remaining 2 crates plus a third fake crate to basically be completing both jobs at once.
Where's the fake crate coming from?
That's what I'm confused about. Where's this other crate coming from? But we'd essentially be giving the 2 other real crates plus another crate.
Red Clover, you know that these crates are probably, they have a bunch of them, and they could just fabricate a crate up here and give it to you.
Okay.
To take on your ship.
And then just take that over to them and get the full money's worth for that job. Plus 20K for doing that.
But equally, we could just take the 2 crates there and give them 1 crate. Although maybe they're not willing to pay 20K at that point.
I think the whole point was for them to take that 3rd crate. But
it just seems it's so weird. I don't understand why they would want us to give them. If the fake crate, I guess, has fake, non-viable plants or something.
I think it. Okay, from what I understood, broke down is they both want to do the research. This person or the company wants to give them something fake to study, so their research isn't as good as theirs, and they can discredit that and be like, okay, cool. What I don't understand is that if they mentioned that they have some sort of way to track the crates. If we come back and have to pick up a crate from them that's fake, wouldn't they know that we didn't immediately come back to them with all 3 of the crates?
I
Yeah,
think
that
the
we went.
idea would be that we would take a shuttle from Black Sky Botanicals.
But then they would know that we didn't take a shuttle from the other one.
Yeah, it's. I don't know about you all, but
it's a terrible plan, right? It's just a horrible. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Like we just
convoluted.
almost died to space pirates, and this seems worse. Just on a logical standpoint.
I agree. I would rather currently be engaged in battle with the space pirate. I mean,
this whole having to speak through a screen is just the stupidest. I haven't had to deal with void art in
I don't want to give
years,
it to these
and
people.
I remember why.
Yeah, I don't want to work with these people on the principle of it. But I also just don't. Their story about these people being bad. I mean, maybe it just seems so strange and weird. Like,
I just want to point out that in the entirety of the time that we've all been on this ship, I think this might be the only thing that we have unanimously agreed upon in less than 10 minutes, and I think that should say enough.
Yeah.
Unless in their job, and go back to intelligent growth and take the job for them and just be done with it. Based on what the Argyle said, it seems like they're going to have us pick up all 3 crates, but then they'll still deliver that 3rd crate to Black Sky. So
I think that was not
absolutely
implied.
that was not what he
yeah,
was
that was
saying.
not what he said.
They're just going to take all the crates because they're paying you to go get the
I
crates.
see.
Yeah.
I'm fine with these people not getting anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I feel like the headache is not worth $20,000.
I'd rather just get the 45K and be one and done and get out of here.
My eyes still hurt from that light.
Yeah, it is bad for you. That light.
Yeah, Red Clover.
Like for more than 5 minutes, that does damage to you.
I think some of us are going to need eye exams later.
Yes. I still have like sunspots.
It's a montage of eye exams being done.
It's still getting me. These people were so incompetent that they left 3 huge crates down there.
There has to be a reason.
Because they were high and drunk, like, I guess. But
like any crew wouldn't just leave out 30% of their haul worth of money for something they could get to a little bit later. That makes no sense.
I feel like we're gonna get there and it's gonna be more dangerous than it had appeared. But at the same time, I mean, they're paying us $45,000 worth of danger, so I'm okay with taking that risk. I mean, we could just leave. Like, we could just leave this sector, but
Mind having a little bit more in the proverbial bank, though.
Yeah.
And having a little bit of time to get so Nix can work on ship repairs.
Based on the specs that I was given for the crates and like the little bit of info that they gave me, would I be able to determine if I could set up something in my own lab to sustain one of these plants?
From what they gave you, they specifically left out enough stuff that you can't tell that without one of the plants in like your possession.
Okay.
They intentionally like redacted important parts of like what the chemical makeup was of the hydrogenated liquid.
Okay. That's fine.
All right. Well, let's head back and tell them that those people are weird and we're Just gonna do the job.
We do a like old-fashioned original trilogy screen wipe to you landing. Valis, make me a pilot.
Okay. But to land on the we're moving to the planet?
No, to the
Okay.
because you don't notice there's a very like shimmery shielded ship that's landed on there since you last landed.
Okay.
And you're kind of just assuming that you're going to be the only people here.
The like hour that we've been gone.
It's not even been an hour.
15.
Yeah, you notice it early because you see like the place that you landed last time. Like you should be able to see the wheel locks, but you see like a weird shimmer, and you just bring it down next to it. The ship is quite small compared to yours. It maybe is a 5-person crewed ship, like 2 people, a pilot, a nav person, like, and then the other half of the day-night shift. And there's a short, kind of scraggly-haired girl with a metal arm slamming the side of it with like her metal arm. And every time she hits it, the shield that is clearly glitching, like it's a camouflage shield that's glitching, it like shimmers to a different color, like a chameleon going to the wrong colors. And then finally she like leans back and just slams into this side of the ship, and the glitched shield like shimmers back, and it's like a very plain gray ship. She just like stamps up the walkway back into the ship as you all begin to get out.
Well,
As
that's
you-
one way to fix the thing.
As you head into the woodland area, you see a pair of people coming out. One of them is a very human-looking person, as human-looking as Lucira is, really. Kind of short-cut black hair, walking pretty confidently. He's about 5'11". And then next to him, a much taller, maybe 7.5 foot tall woman. It's very rangy, very wispy in movement, and like kind of almost glides. They kind of watch the 4 of you approaching. 5 of you. Alejandro's with you. The man waves and says, you must be the people that Argyle that had already been interested in the job.
We are. You just get in the system?
Yes, we're traveling from, and he kind of points east, meaning essentially 1 sector downwards. He says, yes, we're heading back to the Institute nearby. If you're coming through Pirate Space, you should consider coming to see us. We might be able to help you navigate. And he kind of looks over at your ship and says, seems your ship's already a little bit worse for wear. Flying through pirate space is dangerous at the best of times. Can you all make me perception checks?
11 -1. That's gonna be good.
Well, -1 doesn't mean anything if you crit. 5% of the time, -1 is pointless.
17.
23.
Right. Did I mess that up? No, that's right.
I'll roll for Alejandro. Hang on, he's also got -1. He also passed. That's very funny. Everyone except for Valis.
Fair enough.
You notice
rolled
as he's
poorly.
talking, he's really confident. He's very amiable, but he's wearing kind of like an overcoat kind of thing. And on one of the lapels, you notice a little pin. And it's something he's still proud of. He doesn't have any other pins on him. It's a little book with an A on top of it. And all of you, even Valis, you notice the pin. You just don't make it the connection of where the pin's from. And all of you recognize the pin as being equivalent to one that Nyx wears on their jumpsuit all the time. He says, anyway, if you're in... why do I never write down specific sectors? Give me a moment.
Well, we're in
Uh,
568, right?
Yeah, he says, if you are heading through pirate space and would like to come to the Institute, we're in Sector 549. We're the only civilized entity there that we're aware of. And we can maybe offer you a job to help you get through pirate space a little bit easier. And he pulls out his smarts lab, and he randomly decides to send it to Lucira. And you get like a little thing for like, hey, do you want my business card?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an institute called the Moreno Panderas Mechanical Institute.
Moreno Panteras.
It's Technical Institute, not mechanical. It's more than just mechanics. It used to be the mechanical one.
I'm
Anyway,
Valis. Nice to meet you.
Sure. He steps forward. He extends a hand to you and says, "My name is Kevin."
Evan. Yes.
I'll shake his hand.
Yeah, he's got not a grip that really matches yours, but he's confident about it. And he says, "Oh, and why then?" And she does an extremely low bow, like she could have touched the floor with her forehead if she really was trying to.
Like folds.
Yeah. And he says, anyway, we didn't take the job because we kind of landed here because the ship was. And he looks over and goes, "Oh, it's fixed."
Well,
So
safe journey to you, but
does the Institute have interest in jobs? Like Kid, by the way.
He inclines his head. He will reach out to shake your hand as well.
Kid's hands stay in their pockets.
Right? He manages to make himself look cool in doing it. Like
How? Explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he goes to shake your hand. He goes to shake your hand, and when you actively make no motion to do it, he just kind of drifts past you and shakes Alejandri's outstretched hand. So it looks kind of like he did it on purpose. And then he makes some comment about how polite and genial Rethans are, which is accurate.
Lucira will shake his hand and we'll do a curtsy bow thing to Wythan. Yeah, looks like your camo shield's all fixed. That's kind of some cool tech. I haven't seen that in a while, but
Yes, it doesn't work very well, but he kind of puts his arms up like he's not a pilot. So he says, "Oh, the vice president seemed quite taken with you. He didn't want us to take the job."
oh, well, my family's metalsmiths, and I just showed interest in the interesting coin that he had. So scientist types tend to be like that, I guess.
He nods and says,
my
"Also,
experience.
Wythen said that we wouldn't do it for less than 70,000, and that's not a good negotiation tactic, is it, Wythen?" And she looks not at all sheepish or like she did anything wrong. But he says, "Anyway, maybe I'll see you at the Institute. If not, happy travels."
Yeah, I'll send you a message if we end up coming that way.
He, as he leaves, stops next to Red Clover and stretches his hand out to shake yours because he did to everybody else, and it would be rude not to.
Yes, Red Clover returns the handshake maybe a little too enthusiastically. They messed this up a lot.
You hear a pop in his shoulder, just the joint cracking, and he's like, "Oh, vigorous. A pleasure." And he's very so polite about it, even though everybody can see a grimace on his face.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. That happens all the time. Old Old sporting injury.
Sure. Well,
Blood disc? No,
Not-
blood disc.
Not blood disc.
I'm sorry, I'll see myself out.
He smiles and says, "No, I'm studying to be a doctor, and I'm using it as a case study because I can always know what's happening."
right. That makes sense.
I am also studying to be a doctor, not formally. If you have any textbook recommendations, I would appreciate it.
He smiles and says, "Come to the institute," is my recommendation.
Red Clover will turn to Valis with very just big blue eyes.
I'm looking at Lucira like with a face of like this, like.
I kind of go, it's fine. We might have to head that way then for sure. Red Clover, we'll discuss it when we're done with this job. See where we want to go next. But we won't hold you up any longer. Go have a safe journey back to 549.
The cockpit of their ship, it had its privacy version on, and it pops up, and the same quite small and now you can see quite young pilot maybe is standing in the window. It's hammering on it with her organic hand and being like, "What are you doing?" to these two, and they immediately begin to make it in that direction.
I would do a little salute. I'm like, sorry.
I'll now that they're gone, I just say, "Do you know about this institute? What the fuck is he talking about?"
You can make a outer rings roll. Anyone can make an outer rings roll if you have a rank in it.
I don't. Which
And
is why
is there an additional
additional
roll to see if the institute has a blood disc team?
Yeah, you can roll Imperial if you want to know if they have a specific blood disc team.
Is there a specific stat I should use for this?
No, whichever one you prefer. If it's charisma, if you roll charisma, it'll be that you've heard of someone talking about it. If you roll high enough.
Okay.
18. I used charisma.
No, you haven't heard of the Moreno Panderas Technical or Mechanical Institute.
Yep. Kid, that's a no for Kid.
They might have a blood disc team. There's no way of knowing.
Really, it's impossible to say.
Haven't heard of this institute.
Even they couldn't know.
Haven't heard of this institute before, but I mean, it's the Outer Rings. There's lots of little mom and pop style institutes and things everywhere. So, if Red Clover is interested in getting some reading material on medical things, which is probably not a bad idea, I wouldn't hate taking a little detour over there if we need to.
I can always ask Mood Ring about it when we get back to the ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you just say mood ring?
Kidren did.
That's very.
I mean,
Lucira goes like, yeah, okay.
it's moving forward, I guess. So, I don't know.
All right,
Something about those two was
very friendly.
no.
Valis has never met a person that Valis wasn't suspicious of immediately.
Friendly is one way. Doesn't
Were
mean I
you-
trust them.
Were you going to say weird? Did the forehead touching the floor not? That
It nearly touched the floor. It wasn't all the way. It was most of the way. As you're kind of standing vaguely talking about this, the ship begins to take off, and it's got vertical thrusters, so it just goes straight up because it's a smaller ship. Even yours needs a little bit of angle to get up. But from the entrance to Intelligent Growth, you see Argyle waving to you to welcome you back.
Hello again. Yeah, we'll be taking the job.
Oh, excellent. I didn't think that they would be able to match our price, but I'm glad that you have decided to work with us.
it was a hard decision.
Yeah, we'll say that. They were trying to drive a hard bargain. That's what I'll say.
He says, "Oh, of course, they're a very prestigious organization."
Can I tell if he says that with disdain?
Yes.
Um,
Well, it's not disdain because he's not that like cruel, but it's like, no, we are an actual research facility, and they are what they
Right.
are.
Yeah.
Like
They're
all
they're
sizzle.
yeah. Okay.
Says, all right. Can one of you pilot? I can send down a pilot with you if you need.
No,
on the
I
shuttle.
got it.
All right. Before you go, the shuttle should have access to all of the logs of their time on the planet. You're welcome to look at that. But we hope to see you back later today. And he kind of gestures and gets the shuttle over.
Those other two people, I'm just kind of got talking to them a little bit. I was just curious. They didn't take the job?
Well, they started with when I said we'll pay you 45,000. They said we'll take 70,000, and in a way that seemed very threatening. But the Kevin was very nice, but I don't necessarily want to work with someone that's trying to strong arm me into hiring them, particularly when I knew that you were nearby.
Right. I don't want to impose because obviously we have a working relationship, but they kept mentioning some institute, and I'm unfamiliar. They had talked about it a little bit like it was something that I would like people would know about. Did they? I'm just kind of. I'm not from around this part, so we're moving forward.
I have only been in this area for the last 18 months or so, and like I said, since we've been here, there hasn't been a lot of traffic coming through. From what I gathered, they did mention it as well. They asked if we had any staff that could use upskilling. We're a Core World botany team. We didn't bring people out here that were interns.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned it, said something about Sector 549.
Okay.
It seemed like they were trying to recruit people.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got as well, and I was just trying to figure that out. Also, that other company sucks. I just want to be clear.
I still can't see right.
It would be improper of me to speak ill of them any more than I already have.
Right.
They are respected botanists as well. If you do need to take an hour, we do have a sensory deprivation room which might help with your eyes. But,
I think Great Clover will be all right. Yeah, let's get on our way. Thank you for doing business with us.
Of course. I hope to see you in a few short hours.
Yeah. All right.
As you, he gestures towards a shuttle for you. There's a relatively standard shuttle. It's kind of like a space equivalent of a minivan. It's got a couple of big, like lifted trolleys that you can just push very easily. There's 3 seats at the front, so 2 of you will have to make do elsewhere. But as we watch you get onto the shuttle, the camera cuts and we fade into a somewhat familiar office. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire sits behind the desk, the same person delivering an update on the heart. Saying, we still really have no idea what happened. We know there were 4 ships. They were disparate. We think one of them might have been Relixian. And they haven't made ships for hundreds of years. But we're not really sure. And the Emperor is kind of not paying attention. We see as the audience that this is like a common briefing. And as the Emperor kind of swivels away from the man in his chair, he looks behind him to a shelf type of thing. And on it in the middle is this blossoming plant. And from the plant itself, snowflakes drop, and there's a familiar terracotta pot wrapped around the outside of it. And as the camera pans to the desk of the emperor, we see like many pictures of family, and amongst one of them we see the person that on their first day of life 3FL helped. And as we're looking at that camera, there's this moment of like connection between the earlier flashback and this moment. We see a fist slam into the desk as hard as like they can bring it to, and all of the pictures just fall in disparate ways. And as the camera pans and the emperor is about to speak, we're going to go to break.
Right. We will be back in just a little bit. See you then.
Welcome back to this thrilling episode of The Infinite.
Hey, I'm
Our
having
scene
a great
opens
time.
not on a shuttle, but instead in front of a monitor. And the camera pulls out until it's 3 monitors, and further until we see a dark gloved hand on a ship, also familiar from long ago. These screens light up, and they are still silhouetted and hidden in shadow, but the ships that attacked the heart. And we come to this conversation, mid-conversation, and one of them says, well, we just simply lost the ship. It blinked away. It's not in Imperial space. All of my agents have told me that there is nothing to be found. Another voice breaks through the gravelly sound of that voice and says, it's absolutely not in sectors 200 to 300. I have a lot of people around there. It's not that. I think it's gone. I think it's out of galaxy. The leader uncurls their hand and then clenches it, and we see the glove bulge with just the fury that this person is clenching their hand with. And the third person says, well, if it's in pirate space, I'm gonna find him. And we cut back to the shuttle, where Valis is now piloting a quite unwieldy shuttle down through the atmosphere of Gilnas.
This thing handles like a fucking brick. Jesus Christ.
It does.
God.
It's
Admiral
akin to if you're
Speed
trying to
is-
fly if you're trying to float a toaster around with a kite. There's really only a couple of spots, and they gave you like a beacon of where the campsite had been set up for the others. But there's a bit where no trees have been cleared, but there was like an absence of trees as it came down like out of a rocky mountain outcrop. The atmosphere here is tinged yellow, and as you come down, you see not a lot of big bodies of water, but when they are, they seem to be clear water, but above this yellow top layer rock that is then reflected in the atmosphere and gives everything a kind of yellow tinge. Are you looking at the shuttle logs on the way down? Takes about an hour to fly down just because the ship is unwieldy.
Since there's probably not a whole lot for me to do in terms of navigation for this, as it's pretty straightforward for Valis to handle on his own, I'll probably take a look.
The logs catalog 7 weeks that they spent down here, and at the very start, the first log is input by the by Intelligent Growth itself, talking about the 4-week mission that they're sending these people on. Like that the shuttle is being used for that. It's like a very orderly bookkeeping thing. The second log is 3 days later, and you can tell immediately that somebody accidentally started recording a log because it's just people singing in a language that you don't understand. And your universal translator is not finding whatever it means. It like is the indiscernible kind of song like tub thumping if you don't know anything about alcohol. That kind of thing of just like, what are these things? What is this song? There's a couple of other ones that are done intentionally where someone is uploading a message back to Intelligent Growth, which is like, oh yeah, the trees are real hard to get through, and we there's problems with the root system, like at week 3, and then at week 6, it's like, yeah, we dug the tree out of the ground, and now we're trying to put it in the crates, and there's a return message that's just like an extremely long explanation of the type of plant that they're looking for and how it isn't in the earth at all. And it's been the end is just like, it's been 6 weeks. Like, you have 1 more week or we are terminating your contract. But the logs do bear out the nonsense that this group apparently did.
He's
Anybody smell that? Like,
smell the bullshit.
what were these people doing in here? I look around.
This has been perfectly cleaned.
Seems like they're botanists of a different nature.
I should have named this episode "Botanist of a Different Nature." That's surely a song. But yeah, you land relatively easily. It handles badly, but you're still a very good pilot. It's about maybe not even a kilometer into where their campsite was allegedly set up. But it is very dense. There's a lot of trees. There's not like even an animal trail that you're cutting through. You're basically just pushing through a very thick canopied, lots of bushes, lots of trees, for about a kilometer in one direction.
Right. Keep your eyes peeled. We're looking for crates.
Everybody can make me a perception check as you're kind of walking that way. Alejandri has a sword and has given Valis a sword to be cutting through vegetation and stuff.
Oh, I have a sword.
Yeah, but Alejandri assumes his is better.
Okay. I will take the sword and I will use it since it's going to get all dull.
So that 11, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a good roll. 10.
24. And Kidren has dart deployed and has dart up above.
Oh, you can roll with advantage with dart.
Oh.
You can't get that high up because the canopy's really thick. But...
Okay, gotcha.
I was just floating like 5-ish feet above us.
Is it like...
Yeah, the canopy's thick, but it's still it's dark down here too.
Is it warm or...
24.
It's it's stuffy but cold. Like there's an so thick is the canopy that it's kind of insulating this area to keep it warm with like the thermal heat from the ground. None of you, I'll roll for Alejandro, who needs to critical to see anything. That was a 19. He's like kind of just whacking away at some vegetation. You're not walking in that direction, but he got a little bit turned around. He's still like hitting to try and get through. Kid, you see, there are bushes that have been cut back here. Like that's the only sign that anyone has come through here at any point recently. But the bushes around you on either side, you occasionally catch the shadow of movement of some animals. Definitely more than one, because there's times that like you pick one up and Dart on one of his sensors picks one up in a different direction. But you never, even with the 24, get a full look at anything.
Okay. Kid will unholster their shotgun from their back, and we'll just, while still having dart deployed. We're being followed, by the way.
I'll pull out my pistol, so my sword, pistol. So.
Alejandro gets his sword back from you and has 3 swords out.
I pull out my sword after having he'd like, give me that. I was like,
I need the 3rd sword.
Pull out my own sword. Did you see what there were?
Then move too quick. They're intelligent enough to hide, and they're stalking us.
Okay. Well, ever stay close. Let me wander off.
You do know that absolutely they are an animal more than like a human stalking you.
Yeah.
Like their movement is too low and too like quadrupedal, and there are not a lot of quadrupedal races.
We are strangers in their home. Maybe they're just interested.
Kidren, you can make me an understanding roll.
They might be interested, but
you can try and make an understanding roll. That face made me think that you're not going to succeed. But
let's hope they're not too interested in us.
understanding. Why did I suddenly turn into Bellis?
It's
Understand.
infectious.
Heard the dirt.
Nobody
this
pet
is
the
wisdom,
wildlife.
An infectious accent that.
With
doing.
wisdom.
It's gonna be fun. Five.
Yeah, you could tell they're animals. You can't tell more than that, even with the others kind of talking in. There's no connection that you can make.
Yeah.
As you move on, it is hard going to get through this. It takes you. It doesn't take a long time to walk that kind of distance normally, but going through this, particularly now that you're like all watching, it takes you a while till you get to. It's nothing. As I said before, nothing has been destroyed from the above. Like the clearing where you came in hadn't been destroyed. There is a disc of metal that probably Kid in particular you recognize as something that people will put down if they want like a stable flooring for camping.
Mhm.
That you just like push a button and it just expands this disc out. It's really bad for like wildlife to do that because it will just cut into trees. It will like crush everything underneath it. But you get to this. It's about maybe 40 feet across, and it's circular. And at the very back, you see 4 crates.
4.
Yes.
Anybody
How-
else seeing that?
How unusual, or actually, how expensive is this piece of equipment?
Not hugely expensive. Less than 1,000 credits.
But still
Depends on
unusual-
where you're buying it.
Still unusual to just leave behind, though. I was assuming.
You kind of, if it's cheap enough, which as you're getting closer, you can tell that this one is. The cheap ones don't retract.
Okay.
They're just like, well, this huge heavy piece of metal's here forever. But yes, 4 crates.
Do we have the hydraulic haulers with us already, or do we have to go back to get those?
I will assume that you brought them with you.
I wasn't sure how big those are.
They're like a small wheelbarrow size type thing,
Okay.
but flat.
Right. Well,
Don't think we asked enough about the botanist or the team who seem to have failed at their job to bring in all of the crates. Is a thought that Red Clover has out loud to no one in particular.
Clover, I agree. I agree. This is. I mean, the logs were what they were, but clearly they didn't do much logging otherwise.
It's really not that difficult to like forge any kind of credentials. Like, none of you have ever lied on your resume. Do you know how many places will give you a degree in whatever you like for a relatively small amount of money that passes a
Lot.
surface inspection?
a lot of places.
Like, it's real easy.
I
have a
been in
doctorate.
laundry. In what?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk about it. It went badly one time, and we shouldn't discuss it. But
I just,
All right.
as I'm stepping onto the mail platform, where did the miscommunication happen between those people and there? That everybody thinks there's only 3 crates missing, but clearly we have an extra.
everybody can make me either perception or understanding checks.
Red Clover, I don't know what these crates really look like, but can you look at like the diagnostics on them, see what's in them without opening them, possibly? I don't know. I say that as I'm making an understanding check.
I'm gonna roll understanding with wisdom.
Yes, wisdom for understanding.
Or I'll do perception. Sorry.
Natural 1.
God. 9 with a natural 4.
30-20. On
For
perception. Yeah.
So these crates are not stacked up either. As you're kind of getting closer, they kind of seem like they've been knocked about a bit. Is that perception as well? It's not understanding.
No, that was understanding.
Okay. So before I explain to Valis, Kristen, you can pick whether or not you're doing this in relation to Valis's question of can you work out what's in the crates, or can you work out what happened here? One of those two that roll can work for.
I want to do the crates.
Okay. Valis, everybody else kind of sees stuff, but Valis, you see this in that kind of flotilla way of metal on metal trauma. There's like a dent where a crate has fallen from like a significant height, but then there's also scratches where it looks like something quite big has come through this camp and like pushed things around and been looking at stuff the way almost a bear will go through a campsite. So there are 4 crates here. With your 20, you can tell that the likelihood is that one of them was jettisoned down onto the planet. Red Clover, you look at the 4 crates, and you absolutely, from the information you were given by Black Skies, can tell that 3 of them seem to be the configuration that is set up for the liquid with the root system, and the 4th one is a flash frozen, like flowering situation, basically. But you can't tell, because these are identical, anything about them beyond that. The 3 that are the liquid with the root system are identical to your eyes.
And what's the general climate? What climate information do we have for this planet here?
It's pretty humid. Like, so it's humid, but it's pretty cool. But a lot of the heat comes from the fact that you're basically underneath a really solid roof of insulation. So above the canopy, very mild. Below the canopy, it's very stuffy. It's very moist in the air. Like, those of you that do breathe in a way that Red Clover doesn't really need to, it is unpleasant to like be down here for a long time. But actually, as you come up to this area, there do seem to be, and Kid, you probably noticed this.
Bless you.
Maybe you noticed this, and it's why you don't pick up on anything else. But there are a couple of like big industrial fans that are blowing like nicer air around. So this is a place that you could spend more time without being deeply unpleasant. Like, you would think, actually, Kid, I think that given how much hunting you've done, you would think that somebody came here and set up a nice place to hang out for a few weeks. Like, rather than somewhere that you would be doing a significant job.
Huh.
None of this really belongs here. These are the 3 crates we are supposed to get. This one is different in a way that's not aligning with where we are right now.
Well, I will clarify that from the Black Sky data that you had, there was meant to be 2 liquid with roots and 1 flash frozen.
One frozen.
Flowers of the plant.
So we have an
So
extra
there's an extra liquid root.
rat crate. Does that seem to, or does one of the root crates seem to be the ones that was ejected?
You can't tell because of how much things have been moved around.
Okay.
Like with your perception check, it wasn't high enough to be like, this fell. You couldn't Sherlock Holmes perfectly the trajectory of like a falling.
Okay, I wasn't sure if one of the crates was like particularly dinged up in a certain way.
There's definitely 2 different things. So go ahead.
Is there a way to check to see, just based on context clues of the environment and like what's been left behind, is there a way to tell if whoever had been camping here for extended stay or not, if they left in a very big hurry?
I'm not going to make you roll because of your background, I think, because of like what Kid has experienced and like how into that kind of stuff they are. There's, now that you're kind of ranging out a little bit further off the metal, there's like a pile of very, well, not big, but very like high proof alcohol bottles that have been kind of piled up as if to be a garbage pile. There's other signs that people were using this space more like a campground, but anything that is of value that is movable has been taken. And given the amount of money that you know they got paid to do a very bad job, the loss that they incurred here is like eclipsed by the amount of money that they made. So if the stuff that they left behind is $3,000 credits worth of tech, and then they were paid 320,000 credits minus some amount of money, then you don't think that they left in a hurry. There'd be more signs of bedding and stuff if they left in a hurry.
Well, while everybody's looking around, Belle's gonna look at Alejandro and say, let's just get these and get the fuck out of here. I don't care that there's 4 crates. Let's load them all up, I guess.
Any of these, are there any of the floating aquatic cool plants like hanging out around here?
Not that you have seen in the between the shuttle and here. However, you do hear the sound of some rushing water coming from maybe there's like a little mound of rocks, the same yellow rocks, and you kind of hear that in that direction there is some running water. You don't know if they would make the sound of running water, but you think from your xenobotany knowledge that they are more likely to be near water than not, because they would have to, when they are born, when they spore or when the seeds take, they would have to find the water from somewhere, or the hydrogenated liquid that is not water.
Are we in a terrible hurry? Red Clover gets no response, takes that as a
Sorry, are you saying that out loud as Red Clover?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You can see that at least Valis, I don't know if Alejandro listened, but Valis is like loading up the crates, kind of moving quickly or trying to move quickly. Like,
yeah, Alejandro listened and
and
is loading up the crates, but
let's
if you
just do
look at
this.
him, he shakes his head and is like, "No, we're not in a hurry." If you want to take direction from Alejandro,
Lucira is also just helping to load up the crates, but it's trying to be
They're
more careful
all
with them
carried.
based on the.
yeah, 2 of you could have carried them back to the shuttle alone, but they're pretty awkward, so the loader helps.
I would like to go poke around just a little bit.
I look back and I say, I'm gonna glance at Kid and I'm gonna say, if Kid will go with you, sure. I don't want any of us going anywhere alone.
Red Clover will look at Kid expectantly.
Where is it?
What?
This is why
There it
the
is.
best thing is if Nix was here, Valis wouldn't have said you need one person to go. Valis would have been like, I'm going to need you to be chaperoned by an adult.
Kid, like, this entire time, hasn't really been helping load crates, but has more so just kept an eye out, and it's had Dart kind of just doing circles around the platform. Kid doesn't verbally respond, but you see like their visor kind of like full display for a second, and they seem to do something, and Dart basically phase locked over the platform and no longer is following Kid, and Kid just kind of like stares at Red Clover and it's kind of like.
And with that, Red Clover is going to dash off in the direction that the sound of running water is coming from.
It's not that far. It's far less than the distance you walked. But you get round the outcropping, and behind it you see it's not a waterfall, but it's like where liquid is bursting out of this spring, basically. And every so often, you get there pretty quickly, and you're waiting for Kid to come back, even though Kid is also, I assume, hustling, probably at the direction of Alice.
Yeah, Kidren started walking, then saw, oh, we're not walking apparently, and basically had to catch up.
After about maybe, it's very pretty. It's like pristine clear water running down very vibrant yellow rocks into like a little pool that then like drains back into the rocks. But after maybe 90 seconds of watching, you start to see from underneath the rock itself, like an air bubble is almost pushing up. But as that air bubble pushes up, you see that it's like full liquid. And there's something about the physiology of this liquid that when like air catches it and it's pushing upwards, it like morphs into it. And you kind of look at that for a moment and you see as you follow it going up, it's going to just float into the atmosphere and eventually the surface density will break and it will pop. But you see, as you look up above that little mound of rocks that this spring is forming out of, it's, even though you know that that's what you're looking for, it is deeply strange to see like a sapling growing in midair. And it's kind of floating around. It doesn't have, because of the weight of the sapling, it's not like floating off into the atmosphere. It's just kind of hovering, and you assume that as that tree grows, the weight will bring it closer and closer to Earth. Well, to Gilnaus. But you can't be sure what will happen if it gets too big to sustain its weight.
When a kid makes their way over, they'll find Red Clover is very much taking another one of their moments of quiet to really appreciate just how fucking wild this universe can be. And when they get there, if we'll very much we'll point up and go, isn't that incredible?
I mean, I've never really been much into plants, but yeah. Space is weird.
It exists like this regardless of our interest in it. That tends to be the way of everything. Nothing has intrinsic purpose outside of the need to just be. I'm glad you were the one who came over here, because the other two, they seem very, very point A to point B focused. You noticed we had an extra crate, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the interest of not disrupting the job, which I recognize is important to you guys, I won't request this of all the crates, but maybe the extra one we bring back over here and attempt to reseat it?
Kid doesn't. He said one of them was like flash frozen, but that's not. Kid doesn't know that, do they?
No, depends. Red Clover occasionally is just a stream of consciousness. So I'm happy, Kristen, for you to say that you were announcing your discoveries out loud.
Yeah, that's allowable. In Nick's fashion, muttering to themselves.
Yeah, but without the years of being quiet.
Yes.
Are you talking about the odd one out, or one of the ones we were actually sent here for?
No, to make the clarifying point that was made to me, Kristen Evans, the player, they are expecting 2 of the root systems, and then one of the flash frozen ones. The flash frozen one would be the one going back with us. And then one of the water-based parts of the system I would like to return here.
Right.
It's just that there's something that really doesn't sit quite right with me about the way in which either of these organizations are conducting their research. They're wanting to use these plants as something that they can lord over each other and not as something that has a right to exist outside of their purpose for it. And it does have a right to exist on its own merit.
Most things do. It's just sometimes people don't see it that way.
Red Clover looks at Kid sort of like in waiting for permission to go back and disrupt the flow of work that's happening with the other three to go like bring back one of the crates. They are waiting for permission there. On Kid to recognize that is what's happening.
Look, you do you. I don't care, but they might.
It's just that I am not very strong, and I also will need someone to help me carry the crate.
Kid will look down at their noodly arms.
Red Clover, the strongest of you all.
There's Valis. I am the strong.
Yeah, you have some strong people, but not really.
No.
I'm looking at Nyx's character sheet, and they have
probably Alejandro. I imagine it's the actual strongest.
You should call him Alejandro 3. It's taken me 7 sessions to come up with that joke.
Absolutely not.
He's been saving it.
No.
Kid will activate their visor to reconnect back to Dart to see what the progress is on loading the crates.
Alejandro's playing rock, paper, scissors with himself. While the other two, I assume, are doing something.
We've probably gotten one of the crates back at this point.
Are you taking them back as well?
Well, my question to you is, could we have loaded them all on the hydraulic thing already?
You could have got 3 on, but it's not really weighted for 4.
Okay.
So you'd have to do 2 trips.
Well, then we have the 3 on. I'm realizing that, and I'm looking around to see how far the others have gone. I think is what's happening.
Yeah, we've gotten the 3 that we were supposed to get. So the two of the liquid root system, and then the flash frozen.
Yeah, I think I'm. Valis has said to Lucira something like, "All right, well, I guess I'll see if me and Alejandro can carry the last one, and you could push the other ones. Where did they? Shit."
Kidren will put in a basic command for Dart to, the visual for the rest of you is Dart suddenly lowers from where its vantage point is, kind of Dart looks around for a second, goes over to Valis and Alejandro, and basically just begins to headbutt both of them.
God.
Hang on. I'll just roll to hit. I'm gonna give you 20. Alejandro whips a hand out and grabs it, and points it at Valis. He's like, "Is this doing a thing? Is it? This was headbutting us, right?"
That's kids.
I'm not.
Which makes me think something's wrong. I will.
Yeah, it just cuts back the Kid immediately canceling the visor and looking oh god, that.
I'm gonna just. We're in range for our pad communication, right?
Sure.
Direct. Okay.
Or shouting. They're literally just around a thing.
Yeah, I can't see them, so I'm I have no idea how far away they are.
I also rolled for Alejandro to shout for people, and he rolled high enough there.
Okay. Yeah, and I also, that's probably not a good idea. I'm gonna message Kid, say, are you guys okay? We're pretty much ready to go.
Kid will respond. I always forget that Kid writes everything shorthand. So Kid responds back.
Oh no.
Clover found plant. Clover wants plant here. Plant to plant. Bring crate.
Can you guys walk back and we can like I can talk to I start typing that and then I delete it and then I message Red Clover. You want what? You want to play it? Play it?
Kristen's dying. Please hold. Red Clover cannot answer the phone at the moment. Why is Kidren the way that they are?
Like, I think you broke her.
While Chris is recovering, Alejandro puts Dart down on the ground, and then steps back, like ready to catch it again if it tries to headbutt it.
God, you made me start coughing.
Red. Oh, okay. Red Clover will message back. Could you please bring over one of the aquatic root system crates? I would like to replant it since it's not a part of our job description.
I can't think about this. I'll say first off, where are you?
Follow the sound of rushing water.
Helpful. Real helpful.
Dart from where Alejandro left it is basically just doing a thing of like whoop, 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 like between the two of them. And like as slow as like a shuffling grandmother begins to slowly float in the direction where they left.
No, we'll glance at Lucira. I'm gonna say, Red Clover wants to replant one of the crates. I mean, they'd probably pay us extra for this, but
well, can you and Alejandro at least lift it?
yeah, I will give it a go.
Yeah, together you could lift it. It's cumbersome, and it would take a long time to carry it back to the ship. But you could do it. Equally, you could carry it to Red Clover.
Well, how about I stay here with our loaded up stuff just to make sure nothing happens to it. They don't fall over again.
Oh.
Maybe Dart can stay. Unless you want me to come with you and leave these here.
I mean, we can always stack the crates again. That took like 5 minutes.
True.
I know that I'm not a captain, nor a vice captain, nor a Lucira's position. But if these 3 crates are essentially identical, then couldn't you just take the loader over and pick the top crate and then bring that back, and we could load up the 3rd one onto that and then leave?
We've already got the 3 we were required on there. So you're saying take off the flash frozen one right now?
No, I'm just saying that if all 3 of these ones that are just liquid and roots are identical, then why do those 2 have to be the ones that we were sent to get? What if this one was one we were sent to get?
It doesn't matter, but I mean, I don't know what the loader looks like. I was assuming that like we had carved a path already, and it would be easier to carry it than to take the loader.
Sure, it might be easier to do it, but Alejandro doesn't always make the best suggestions. He just tries.
I will say that then. I'll say, well, we've already got those ones loaded, and if we're going to leave one of them anyways, we might as well just carry it over. Plus, that way it looks a little bit more vegetative.
You 2 maybe can carry it, and I'll stay here in case something happens. Although Lucira is a good shot. I'll carry it. He goes to pick it up with Atlas.
I think we're all going to go. Let's go.
Right.
You know, why not?
If there's a key to the loader, I will take the key. I don't know.
Sure. It turns off.
Great. I will turn it
You get to
off.
turn it off. You three see Dart meandering along. It only takes you about a minute. Well, maybe 2 minutes with the crate to get over there. Valis, roll me a D3. No reason.
Great, that's what I want to hear. One.
Red Clover, you're presented with a crate.
Excellent. Shall I open it? Yes, I am answering that for myself. I am going to open the crate. Does anybody have... Red Clover finds themselves very uncomfortable, very momentarily, just in this space. Because they usually don't have people watching them who don't like get what they're trying to do like this. And we'll like grab one of their like their spade out of their tool belt, and we'll like use that as like a crowbar for leverage to pop it open.
I think
So
Alice
you
beat the button.
there is a button, and then it pulls out like a keypad for you to put a code in. But meanwhile, Red Clover, who has opened many crates in their existence, like finds a leverage point and goes to try and pop it. And as you do it, you feel like it will work. Like you can get this, but it's going to almost certainly break your spade that I assume that you've had since before you were an AI. Like, it's just not designed to leave this amount of weight.
Is it my only spade?
It's your only, like, little trowel. You might have a full spade somewhere. You might even have another trowel on the ship, but this is the only one that is yours.
This is the sacrifice that I am willing to make.
All right, you leave it down. You hear the metal begin to splinter, both on the crate and on your little spade. And then at the last moment, before you feel the blade of the spade just crack and then shatter, you hear this really only you can hear it because you're that close. But it starts with a little hiss, and then it continues, and it's like as the top comes off, and it like lifts off with some kind of internal mechanism that's designed like, oh, the seal's been broken, I will lift it off. And inside you see essentially a cubic 2 feet of water with a root system in it. Whatever grew out of the root system is gone now. But the roots do seem like they were harvested with at least some understanding of how they could be kept alive.
Is there an obvious way to like get it out of the crate gently and safely?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, you could go pick it up, but you don't know that the water. You suspect from what you saw that by doing that, the surface tension of the water will break, and you'll just be pulling a root system out of some liquid.
And there's a body of what is the body of water?
It's about a probably 5 foot deep, but maybe 10 foot in. It's not a perfect circle, but like 10 foot in surface of the spring water that goes down into it, and then there's like cracks in the stone below it where it drains away, and that's where the air is coming up to push the water up.
And to confirm the other, like the actual, like not the what can I call this plant? Is there a name that
they didn't give you a name, either out of coyness or because they didn't have a name, but you're welcome to name it.
That's a lot of pressure. I shall name it, but after I'm
Yeah,
done
it's
with it.
more pressure than me having to come up with one.
The plant that's still had not been harvested, it's floating above like the spring itself or above like the outpouring of it.
It's floated up above the rocks from where the spring comes, so it's maybe like 40 feet, and it's one of the few places that you can even see the sky for the canopy. So it's maybe 40 feet up, and then another 10 feet back, but over these rocks.
Okay. So if I take the crate and get up to like the base of the spring, is that a thing I can do?
Yep.
And then like lower the crate into the spring water.
Yeah, you could put the entire crate into the spring. Alejandro will even help you as you like try and maneuver it. You lower the crate into the spring. A moment passes, and nothing really happens. And a little bit longer, and nothing really happens. To the point that you're starting to think maybe this is not an effective avenue. And everybody else is like, well, we're just standing looking at a spring with a crate in it now. And then the root system begins to like spread a little bit as more water comes into contact with its water, and it begins to almost bloom out of the crate itself. And another 60 seconds or so passes, and then you see, because you're standing right there, the bubble begin to form, and the bubble forms, and it looks like it's going to form and maybe catch some of the root system, but because of where the crate is, it's not going to catch all of it.
Can we maneuver it? I want to I can't you just tell by my hand motions what I'm trying to do?
You want to propel it forward without like breaking whatever it has going on. I get it.
Yes. And then use that and then like go, hey Alejandro, can you like move the crate back out from under it now?
Do you need a deft hand?
I'm going to get you to roll xenobotany with dexterity. Because you know what you need to do. It's whether or not you can get your casing to do it. And nobody else is better at this than you are. Because if Valis goes and tries to be deft, Valis doesn't know what he's doing. Alejandro could try, but he absolutely will fail. And I tell you right now, Alejandro would roll this with -10.
It is a deftness roll, not a straight dex roll.
It's a xenobotany roll, so you use your ranks for that because you have such a deep understanding of what you're doing. But instead of intelligence, you're going to add your dexterity.
Okay.
Normally this doesn't come up, but normally you don't have to help a swimming plant swim to a bubble that lets it float into the atmosphere.
How much? Okay, so if I have 4 ranks in xenobotany, that means how many of my?
8.
I'm sorry, this
You have
plus 8.
Plus 8. Okay.
Minus,
and then whatever you
or plus whatever.
So it's plus 8.
That's still good. That's why you're still the best, like suited for it.
Yeah, it's
because Valis.
I would be at a plus 6.
Bonus. No, you'd only get your dexterity bonus.
Well, then I would be at plus 4.
Yes. As you push the you're trying to get the water to kind of guide it itself, and you can see that it's going to just not connect with this bubble. But from the way you're pushing the water, you can make it kind of swirl around in such a way that it pulls it away so it won't catch at all, and it can wait for the next one. But because your perception is so naturally good, only you hear in the distance a kind of really low guttural growl that turns into a roar.
I think we have done, or I have done here what I can do, and if it doesn't catch before we leave, then that is just what the universe has ordained to be true. Does anybody else hear that, and does that fill them with a sense of dread?
Everybody else make perception checks. Kristen, roll me a d20.
Natural 1 again.
Well, Valis heard it. Oh, wait, where's Alejandro's roll? Hang on, this is important. Nope.
Re-rolling, so sorry.
Perception.
Perception, to see if you do in fact hear it.
I have 4 ranks perception. I've rolled 2 natural 1s for it.
Well,
1.
you still rolled 9 higher than Lucira. That's very funny.
31. Hate that for me.
Alejandro also failed. Valis, you do hear it. You hear it. The growl is like subsiding, but you feel like the rumble, and you hear it getting closer. Go ahead.
Weapons out. We're done here? Well, then let's go back.
You start hustling. The spring.
I do lean over to Red Clover and say, sorry it didn't work out as well as you wanted.
I put it back where it's going to be able to make its own decisions. That's all I was trying to do.
You're like hustling. Are you taking the time to look back and look at the spring, Red Clover?
I would absolutely love to. Like as I am saying that, giving it like this its own agency, I will like take that moment to look back. Yes.
As you look back, you see the bubble that you could see forming begin to push up out of the water, and you can see in it some of the roots. And as it pulls up and up, the roots kind of, again, they bloom, but in a way that propels them a little bit, and it pushes itself into the bubble. What you don't see, but the audience does as the camera comes forward, is that in doing that, it pushes the crate over, blocking that spring underwater to never let one of these grow again from this point. But it is fully submerged as it lifts up. And you are hustling back to the turbo loader, which does take about 2 or 3 seconds to turn on. You push the button 3 times, it turns back off. No. Valis understands buttons well enough to not do that. Yeah, the turbo loader is going. Who's pushing the turbo loader? Because they will be at the back, because it is the slowest. Lucira?
No, I'll do it. I'm already there.
All right. You start heading back. You're moving as quickly as you can. Everybody's essentially going 60 feet if we were in combat. Valis is going 50 feet. You're about 400 feet away. Most of the distance, all of you have been able to see small flashes of these animal creatures. The occasional glimpse of red as they're growling, but they're flanking you. And the loud roar is coming from behind you. As you start to see the shuttle, the trees part enough that you can see the shuttle, bounding out of the trees behind Valis, everybody can kind of see it because you can hear it now. This red moored creature. It's got a very like sleek physique. It's got no fur. It's got red that goes all the way back to its shoulder blades, down its spine to a wickedly swinging tail. And as it bounds towards your group, it slings its tail forward, and a spike that looks pretty equivalent to like a real-world javelin arcs out from its tail towards Valis.
All right.
That's a 26 to hit.
Oh, yeah. I'd have to be wearing, like, power armor.
Yeah, I forget what I write for esoterics, and if you have a reaction to it, I don't think you do. But hey,
No,
also you do this in D&D all the time, and that hits to Rask.
Yeah, I know.
Like-
I could have. I could be dashing. I don't know if that would be allowed, but
You would have used all of your points already.
yeah. I don't think I would have that.
I need you to make me a Fortitude saving throw.
Okay. I have advantage.
Yes, because you've used your point earlier in the day.
Yes. Was it 2d20? Drop lowest, deal 1. Well, proudly. 17.
Lose one condition.
So
Okay,
I failed. Is that what I heard?
I'm not telling you if you failed or not, but lose one condition. I only picked up one die. I'm gonna have to roll this a few times. You take 17 points of damage,
Okay.
hitting your shields first. As it collects you in the upper shoulder, and you feel like a red hot pain. You lose one condition. Otherwise, you don't feel too bad. Everybody else hears the roar, and from around you, you hear like accompanying smaller creatures roaring. I'm gonna get you all to make me. We're not gonna do this as. Are you gonna stop and fight these things?
How far away are we?
By the time it hits you, within 250 feet of the shuttle.
I'm just gonna pause to take one shot at the one that hit Valis, because I think I would be probably towards the back by him, just to keep an eye out for things.
I was going to say Kidren would reactionarily probably fire at the thing that suddenly appeared.
Yeah, I think
I'll let
we're
you both
running and
take a
gunning
couple
it,
of
probably.
shots.
Okay.
But keep in mind that not all of you have the ability to dash as a bonus action. And by not all of you, I mean Valis does. So yeah, you two can take shots.
Okay.
Kidren will take a shot.
+4.
How far away is it from where Kidren would be around the thing?
So much in your range. Like,
Is it in my
got a
close
range of.
range?
Yeah, it's got a range of like 80 feet for that spike.
14 to hit.
14 misses.
Okay.
You're aiming at it, and it is moving so quickly and behind trees and stuff that your shot just cuts
I
wide.
haven't had to use my proper pistol in a while.
Yeah, it has more recoil than you remember.
Mm-hmm.
So get my
Alejandro notes that you missed
natural.
that one.
That's like my third natural one.
You pull up the. Did you have your shotgun out or rifle?
Yeah, the shotgun.
You pull up your shotgun. You go to fire it, and it shoots, and you just feel this really weird like click in the mechanism as the trigger doesn't press, and you look down at it. That's going to take like maybe 6 seconds for you to fix, but it's going to take that time, and you don't necessarily have that right now.
Great. Okay.
Is this a shotgun that you had already, or did you get it off the ship?
I had it already.
Okay. It would be funny if the ship's weapons were terrible. All right. You're all. So that means that will make Kid and Lucira at the back, because Valis, I assume you're action dashing and bonus action dashing.
Can I shoot and push this thing?
Yeah, you can shoot and then use your bonus action to do the dash action if you like.
Yeah,
if that's one of your
because I'm still going to be
characters.
ahead of them at that point, right?
Yeah, you will, because you have the ability to dash with a non-action. You will. So yeah, you take a shot.
Would Kid have the ability, just real quick, to would the Hendroy health shield thing pop up?
Yes, all of your shields pop up, and also
Okay.
Valis, whatever your shield was, popped up as an option before.
Kid is spending the 25 credits.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I don't have to spend money.
Yeah, yours is heroism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as soon as your turn starts, you get that back. So when you take your shot, you feel the shield regenerate.
Yeah, so I will. Oh. Is it free to do the save again? I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I have to spend a bonus action to do the save.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna dash. I'm gonna move, shoot, dash.
All right. So make your attack roll.
$17.
17. You see it like it hits. It's a good shot. It hits like in the upper like front shoulder, but there's just a toughness that it doesn't quite get through. But it's a solid hit. It just doesn't permeate its natural armor. It, as the spike lashes out, it kind of falls out of Valis' shoulder. It doesn't like lodge in there. But you can see as you're taking these shots that it has a moment of like it taking a lot out of it to have done that. And it kind of slinks forward as you actually make ground away from it now.
Oh no, never mind.
An 18 would have hit it if you have a +1 from somewhere.
No. I had already set it up for the condition of the pistol.
Okay.
And I was trying to remember if that was the case.
Okay. But yeah, it's running after you. Are you? So we're just gonna go around. Red Clover, what are you doing?
Is it obvious if this creature is like hunting us because it is like hunting us in like a I want to kill you and eat you or I'm malicious kind of way, or is it just trying to run us out of its territory?
Make a xenophysiology roll. Kid, what are you doing? I will do Valis first because Valis is the one that got hit. Valis, what are you doing?
So, sorry, I'm just trying to understand. We're functionally running this as though it had gotten a turn first, and then we all went.
Yeah, as if it got an initiative in front of you, and then you all are going. But what you are doing is relevant because it no longer has a ranged weapon.
Oh, okay. So it's used as ranged weapon. I understand now. I was confused about that.
I would do initiative if it had more ranged weapons, but it doesn't.
Got it. I'm moving and dashing again, which now is putting me way ahead of the rest of the party. And I'm gonna tell everybody else, just keep running. Like, we need to get out of here.
All right, Kid, what are you doing?
You said like Kid and Lucira are like at the back now?
Towards the back now, just because you couldn't dash and shoot. So, but you're still closer than Valis was when further away from the creature than Valis was when Valis got hit.
Okay.
Still moved, but we just didn't we just did 30 feet. We didn't do 60 feet.
Yeah. Kid will, assuming everyone's doing like their full dash, will continue to do full dash, but we'll also keep an eye to make sure they don't necessarily outpace Lucira.
I will also
Lucira.
dash.
All right. Alejandri was towards the middle, but you see like just probably Valis notices, and I guess Red Clover. He pulls a sword out and he moves, seeing one of the smaller creatures. He moves towards it to make an attack, and as his sword flows, Valis, you've seen how quickly he draws his sword. As his sword flows, he moves faster than even you are running, and as he goes to hit it, he drops the sword completely, forcing the attack to miss, and then just runs forward towards the ship, using like his combat ability to get closer to the ship to get it going, but costing him his sword, which is the saddest thing for Alejandri. Steels have an ability where if they make an
they have to move to make an attack, but he's just choosing not to make the attack.
He chooses to make the attack and fail, but I would not let any of you do that, so it has to cost him something. But you're running. It is fast, but it can't close this gap on you. And the creatures that are kind of following it, Kid, as you realize that it just doesn't have the speed to catch up with you, you've seen hunters, you've seen apex predators that you've been like hunting when you were very young. You are sure that the way that this thing is designed to hunt. Wait, hang on. You got a 19?
That was me,
your
not
xenophysiology. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know this as well, Red Clover. This is an apex predator. It was planning. Its hope was to take one of you down, and then probably feed its brood. And it's like got a bunch of essentially pups around it, which is why they're not getting closer. But now that it's lost that spike advantage, it doesn't really have the ability to close the gap on you. So as long as you keep running, you're just going to make it to the shuttle. And that's what you do.
Okay.
Alejandro gets there. So go ahead.
We could all make it to the shuttle. Would we have enough time for the shuttle to start before they reach the shuttle?
Because Alejandro could move 120 feet that turn, he will get there quickly enough to start the ignition.
Yeah, I'm also.
And the doors will just close.
If I'm just moving, then I'm moving even slowed, like 80 feet or so each turn.
Yeah. It doesn't take long to start these things. It's got the same ignition as the turbo loader.
For narrative's sake, I'm going to put myself down to 1 marshal point.
Sure. You sprint forward. So Valis, your speed goes down to 25, but you're still faster because you've got that ability.
Yeah.
Lucira and Kid together kind of broach the ramp up. As that happens, Valis, you're already getting into the pilot seat. Alejandro's like moving that box back, the crates back. Which one of you would like to close the door dramatically? Of Lucira and Kid. You two are the only ones that get the option to dramatically close the door.
Kid will be moving for the door unless. Okay.
You got the big gun.
One on either side, and you both push it, and it keeps the door open.
For the curious, Valis is visibly bleeding quite a lot.
Yeah, from a hole in his shoulder. Yeah, Kid, you get to the door. It's just a button, and it just closes it. You can take a shot at the creature before you leave if you like. Like you have enough distance that you can unsling your rifle and
we'll just circle around this thing, and you'll just like.
So I have
no, don't do that. Don't ever do that in real life. That's a horrible way to hide.
No. It's more of a hey Jack, can I do something lightly dumb?
Sure. I need more information, but I'm on board with the dumb.
So, okay, this might sound like the lead up to a familiar situation. Can I throw something?
If you can justify why you have it, and why it wouldn't be considered an illicit substance.
I have it because I said strictly during an earlier point in an earlier session that Kid was messing with one of these. Kid has a taped up with a skull and crossbones attached to it that's per branding hazardous spray can.
So I'm gonna roll for intelligent growth and how much they think that you are going to huff paint, and would not want you on that shuttle with that.
Okay.
My phone's on charge, but that is a natural 1. So yeah, sure, you have that. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, nobody huffs paint anymore. It's the like late 900s of the Vycian Empire.
Yeah. Kid isn't trying to throw it at any of them, really. It's more so just trying to throw it more like up in the air.
Lobbing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Kid is wanting to make... I'm assuming these things aren't like a big-ass explosion or anything. Mainly, Kid's just wanting to make a very loud noise, because that is a good scare tactic for wild animals.
Yeah, it's certainly not such a big explosion as a lithium battery.
Yeah.
So, you can, let's say, you got to throw it and shoot it in the same action. So I'm going to make the AC for 20 because it's like a negative that you have for doing the two things.
Well, yeah, it's a small object, and we're actively in flight.
I would say that if Alejandri threw it for you, I'd give it to you at 15 because you're just skeet shooting at that point, and Kid does that, like has done that. But when you're doing both, it's a little bit harder.
So I'm using the rifle at least, so that's
better. Fine, you got it.
Well, I mean, the worst thing that happens is that you drop some spray paint on this planet.
That's a 21. I just barely got over.
Yeah, so the door, you hit the button, the door is closing, Valis is like levering the ship up. So as the ship slants, we see Kid in profile, basically the most stable person in this slanting upward ship, toss out this little bundle, pull up the rifle, take a shot, and there's a momentary hiss as the bullet connects with the cans, and then the ignition starts from the metal on metal shearing, and they don't explode one at a time. They don't explode all at once. They kind of pop one at a time, like firecrackers almost. And at first it's like a little hiss, and then like a, but then the third and fourth ones as they start to go amplifies the sound over and over. It is very loud. None of you really know what that sound is, but you took off and then an explosion happened. On the ground, we see the creature kind of looking up, and as the sound begins to bellow outwards, it like slinks really low as if trying to hide from something, and like slinks into a bush, and we just like watch its eyes looking at this explosion in the sky. Kid, you see all of that, and then the doors just close in front of the scope of your rifle. Inside,
terrifying. Can I try to make like a medicine check on Valis to kind of stabilize his bleeding?
Yeah, you can make a xenophysiology check.
I will wave you off as you go to attend me.
Yeah, Valis, you feel okay. Even that condition, like within a minute, you feel all right. Like you get that condition back.
I'm still rolling anyway. Oh, it's an 8.
Yeah, like Valis has waved you off, but you can see like muscle and bone. That's how deep that got. But you don't really know what you would do about that. You'd need some kind of doctor.
How about we head up to my office, as I have dubbed it? That seems official.
When we get back to the ship, sure. Do you have any bandages right now? Excuse me, bubble in my throat. Do you happen to have any bandages on hand, Red Clover, to maybe just bind this up so he's not bleeding everywhere? Lower infection risk.
You can have some bandages if you like. I don't mind giving you that.
We seem to. I really feel like I am like channeling Charlie right now in like a very stuttery, fun, frantic kind of way.
There must always be one.
Yes, and today it is me. Yes, after the last couple of incidents, I do tend to carry them on me. It just seems like a smart decision. And they will go and like pat. It will tend to Valis as much as Valis will allow in this moment.
Oh, if Red Clover wants to touch me, yeah, sure, that's fine.
If the doctor wants to do it, sure. If the bureaucrat wants to, yeah. Yeah, I think Valis, it's still hard. It's harder to pilot going up than it is going down. Yeah. So you're kind of trying to wrestle it one-armed while Red Clover like just basically puts a bandage and a big dressing over it. Would you like to roll xenophysiology, Red Clover?
Yeah, that's also my the one that gives me I know inherent risks thing. So
you're bandaging it and you're kind of diagnosing it. There's no inherent risk to this. If you were trying to perform surgery, it's more likely that you would know about hidden risks then for this one.
Okie doke. Oh no, where did my character?
Or if you were trying to give like dental care to a zombie, you'd know like you could become a zombie. That's how your danger technician thing would work.
It's a 26.
With a 26, it looks okay. There's like, as you're bandaging it, there's a residue in the wound that ideally you'd want to clean. And when you try and clean it, the wound is deep and it's like a full hole. As you try and clean it, Valis doesn't react. And Valis doesn't feel that you're trying to clean it. And you're basically touching muscle as you try and disinfect this residue off.
Vice Captain Valis, are you aware that you have a hole in your shoulder?
Yes,
you are definitely aware that you have a hole in your shoulder.
I am aware that I am very injured. It doesn't really hurt that bad, though.
Does that strike you as something outside of normal?
You're the doctor.
I mean, adrenaline's a thing.
I've definitely taken bullets and not noticed for a little bit. I imagine it'll start to hurt in a few minutes here.
I really hope it does start to hurt in a few moments, because otherwise we have a bit of a problem.
I kind of like try to do one of these, like try to like look at it.
It's bandaged now.
Okay.
By the time you land, which is most of an hour later, Valis, you feel actually better than you did before. Your condition is going up. Like, you're at 2 condition by the end of that hour. You feel real good. Like, you're rotating the shoulder, you don't feel like the lack of muscle or anything.
I mean, whatever you put on seems to have worked. It doesn't hurt or nothing.
I didn't put anything on it. I just cleaned up the area and bandaged it. As soon as possible, I think we should go up to my lab.
You land an intelligent growth. You pull out the turbo loader. Argyle Belcath, anime scientist that he is, walks over with a long stride. He's looking at the time on his a pocket watch, which you can all kind of tell because of the way he holds it, which is to make it obvious that everyone can see it, is a coin that's repurposed into a pocket watch. He puts that away. He goes, my friends, excellent. 3 crates, all accounted for.
Yeah.
You all seem fine. He notices the bandage on Valis's shoulder, goes, oh, I hope that nothing too serious happened.
Oh, we just got chased down by a large predatory creature and their children, I assume.
He pulled out a smart slab and makes a couple of notes.
Red in color.
We had, of course, as I said, there are native species. He pulled up a thing. He says, I think our records show that they are called gamrol. They're predatory. They like to maintain their territory. I was not aware that the location of the crates was within their territory. I am deeply sorry.
Bonus pay, sorry?
He looks down at his smart slab and swipes a couple of things and says, yes, I can swing some bonus pay.
All right. I glance at Kristen. I'll say, or not Kristen. I glance at Red Clover, excuse me, and I say,
Valis looks at the camera.
Could you forward some of that info to our doctor here about that creature?
Of course, we don't have a lot of information about them. Mainly that they are one of the apex predators. But yeah, you get a little thing. It's essentially a bad Wikipedia entry about an animal that they don't know a lot about. They're not xenophysiologists. That's not their thing. It doesn't mention even the detachable spike that it can sling.
To the doctor.
So he says, who should I send these credits to?
A gesture as I'm walking off at Lucira.
Lucira. Lucira, you get he says, okay, so 43 crates. He kind of looks over them for a bit and says, these all check out. 3 crates, 45,000 credits. Your captain's injury. I can only swing 5,000 more credits for that. My budget is running
Perfectly acceptable. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for even offering or for being willing to give us a little bit of hazard pay for the injury.
Of course, you did the job in the requisite amount of time. I am happy to pay even a little bit over on that based on the experience we've had. He does send it through as 2 different transactions because one of them will be taxed differently because the hazard pay gets taxed differently. So you get 50,000 all up.
Much obliged.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just briefly, as one, I think I can call myself a researcher. To another, there was a lot of debris that was left that has been severely disruptive to the natural ecosystem of the planet, namely a large camping disc. If you have the chance or the inclination or the feel the ethical necessity, I would recommend hiring a team to come and clear that up.
What do I make you roll for a guilt trip? I'll just roll his willpower, I suppose. He's nodding. He's nodding. He says, our intention at Intelligent Growth is to not disrupt any more than we need to. We made an error in the previous team that we hired. Now that you wouldn't happen to have any images of the campsite or something? No?
Does Dart record what they the data, or is it just like a visual input?
Is it real time only?
I
in
believe
this case, it's real time only.
I would say I believe Dart is able to record, but Dart's recording stuff is full.
The decision would have had to be made earlier, and it would be
Yeah.
crazy to me. If Chris had said to me in the session, "Can I start recording this?" I would have been like, "What?" Anyway, he says it doesn't matter. We once we start get this crates inside, I have a little bit left over of the discretionary budget. I will put out a work order for someone to come that can look after those the trees and remove the camping disc and things like that. If you ever come across a botany company called Green Thumbs, I would suggest not doing business with them and recommending to everybody to not do business with them.
Your action is understood, and I find that I agree. Thank you.
He smiles and says, for your trouble in particular, as a fellow researcher, and he pulls out like a little chain, and it's got a coin on it, and on one side of the coin is presumably the head of state for whatever kingdom this coin came from. But on the other side is a grand tree. It's like a depiction of Yggdrasil type of tree. And he says, I have several of these because obviously I love botany and I love the coins. But I would like you to have it. And he hands it to you.
Yes, thank you. And hopefully in future circumstances, we can meet on a much more even footing.
Sure, if you ever find yourself in this sector again, or when our research is complete, I will return to the Imperial Center, and hopefully he kind of looks around and says, part of why we wanted to do this research is because it was a way of sustaining life that is unusual, and there are so many people and so many places where life can only be sustained under very specific circumstances. Did you know there's a planet where the people live to be nearly 1,000, but if they leave, they only live for 10 more years? Can you imagine what something like this, understanding of a way to travel outside of what is expected of you? He shrugs, embarrassed, like he's talking about some crazy pipe dream philosophical thing of like helping people through botany is like ridiculous. But to him, it isn't.
I think I am looking forward to seeing where your journey is taking you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
He smiles, and presumably also to Lucira, who I imagine didn't just leave Conifer for this conversation, and both of you as well. What are Kid and Valis doing while you two are talking?
Valis is waving at the exit as they're like feeling slightly like a little bit manic. He's like, "Hey, I walked off already."
Kid
is staring with a morbid curiosity at Valis waving with less shoulder muscle than he should be able to.
Well, Kid, you don't need to make a perception check, but the other two do. As you watch Kid, Valis is waving, and the smile doesn't leave his face as his eyes roll back and he slams forward, passing out.
Yeah, I thought
Kid,
I had to make a perception check.
I thought something like that was coming.
Yeah, because it's happening behind you. And
Kid,
he's been waving behind you, but Kid, you just watch it happen. Alejandro's also standing there watching it happen.
Kid does like
4.
Kid has the inclination to go and like kind of reaches forward with a hand, but doesn't actually commit to actually touching Valis and just watches Valis face plant.
Alejandro was further away than Kid, but ends up closer, but doesn't get there in time to catch Valis before Valis like face plants onto the walkway. Red Clover, you hear it, and Lucira, even though you don't notice, you notice Argyle's reaction to seeing somebody fall from waving, and you turn, and we flash forward to you've got Valis up into the Xenolab. Valis is awake now. Like, you still feel pretty good, Valis. He's covered in like a thin sheen of sweat, and he definitely has a fever, but to him he feels fine. When you take the bandage off to look at the wound, it is fully healed, which also means that anything that was left inside the wound remains. And you know immediately without a roll that you don't really have the diagnostic tools on this ship to work out what's going on with Valis. You might be able to get lucky, but you would be better served finding somewhere else.
Valis,
Yeah.
I think we take you to an actual doctor.
But you are an actual doctor.
I am self-taught by farmers and local community members. I am not.
But you said you were a doctor.
Valis,
I'm not an expert in a surgical sense, and I don't have the equipment necessary, even if I was.
Valis, I trust Red Clover with my life, but I think they're trying to say that this is beyond their knowledge databases. I would also be more comfortable if we could get you to somebody who's had medical training on the human body.
I mean, I feel fine.
You actively
You don't
look
look fine.
You actively look like Lucira does when she eats your spicy food.
I take offense to that, but it is also true.
Am I the only one that thinks that maybe amputation's the way to go? Like, that sometimes works, right?
We are not doing that.
I kind of look, I was like, you'd have to kill me, I think. Like, it's not, you couldn't take off my arm. It's like, you'd have to cut out a lung.
That feels like a challenge, and I do have a doctorate. It's
Yes,
like
and he told
pulling
them
a sword
to
out,
pick one.
but it's also the blunt sword that you like hacked up a bunch of vegetation with.
I would like to clarify that I am not taking amputation off the table. Also, don't have the ability.
Nobody's taking my arm. All right?
I am not taking your arm. Someone might need to.
No.
Yeah. Do you know how good cybernetics are? Like, they're pretty good. You think this is real? And he points to like his left full arm.
I can verify that is your real arm.
Yeah, but Valis might not have thought so.
Do
And that
they
was
have
the
a
question.
doctor
Not really relevant.
on this place? At this
Yeah,
research
doctor
station?
of botany.
They don't have a real doctor.
No.
Would I know if there's any medical personnel on the Imperial outpost in this sector, or would I have to think about something else nearby?
There absolutely would be medical personnel. You don't know, given the state of things as you know it. Also, I didn't send it to you, but you do have more information about that stuff.
Okay.
Because your contact. And given that, you could certainly try that. It may not be the best idea, because it might put you in a situation where you are indebted to the people running that system, that outpost.
Long shot. What about the Institute?
I feel like if we're worried about me dying, well then in 20 days I would be either dead or cured.
Physiology roll, please, Red Clover. And Valis, I'll let you make one for yourself.
Sure.
Because that's pretty funny.
Please
What do
be
you
a
mean?
natural one for Valis.
What do you mean I need a doctor? I know myself better than
I
anyone.
am the doctor.
I am the doctor.
Gun?
I mean, I got an 18. That's not terrible.
I don't want to see what Red Clover is. There's no risk for this one.
Right.
Just so you know, there was no risk.
I see.
Valis, you don't feel bad. You don't feel like you're about to die. Like you don't feel like you're going to need sleep again in your life, let alone about to die. For Red Clover, even though Valis is feverish, it's not dangerously feverish. The risk is that if Valis can't tell at all when something is affecting him adversely, that means that anything that is affecting him adversely, he will just not care about. So if he's dying of dehydration and he can't notice it, he could just die of dehydration. If he stepped on a nail, this is the big one for like if people can't feel pain. If you step on a nail, that will get infected because he won't come to you because he won't know that it's happening. So the risk of death is because of the symptom, not like he will die because of this thing. So 20 days, while a long time, on your ship is the ideal place to do that. As soon as you need to go off your ship, who knows what could happen. But also, you could tell him he's about to die. That's your choice.
Vice Captain Valis, I recognize that you feel fine, and that is part of the problem. And Red Clover, to illustrate this, will take one of their clean syringes and will jab it into their arm. Into his arm.
I will attempt to dodge.
Sure, make an attack roll with advantage because nobody would ever expect you to stab Valis with a syringe.
This is not
But
what
it's
I was
just
doing at all.
it's melee with dex, I guess. Oh, melee with int because a syringe can be the int weapon.
Cool.
Nobody moves to stop you either because who could suspect that?
Did you say I got advantage on that, or did I just hallucinate?
That
No,
is
you have
correct.
advantage because
Surprise.
again, who could suspect?
How do I? Red Clover is having a bad time. What is the
DL.
what?
2d20 DL.
DL1.
1. Yeah, plus whatever.
I thought that this session would end with Valis getting stabbed by Red Clover.
Who could have guessed it?
It's
Well,
only
yeah,
natural
I think
after all.
It didn't do the thing. I will just roll another one.
Well, I will assume that hits. That I'm not wearing my armor because I feel like that would make sense. For this
It was also a 21.
Yeah. You have your stuff taken off. Yes, 21 does hit. Because you would have taken.
So
Valence's
12
armor.
would have missed. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. So you all see. You all see Red Clover kind of do that thing that doctors do with babies, where they distract them with one hand and then just jab them with a syringe. And Valis falls for it because everything's great in Valis' land right now. But doesn't notice the syringe. Like is still looking at the other hand that's distracting him. How does everyone feel about needles?
You just hear a very reactionary by Clover. Like after you do this, it's a very reactionary. As again, who would have suspected this? What the fuck?
Yeah. Henry's like just eyes wide looking at Kid and Lucira to be like, is this real? Maybe I do get to amputate. He pulls his sword out again.
Lucira's is like, well, shit.
Valis, you have a needle in you. Because, like, it's not even a small syringe, really. Like, quite a long syringe. He said, ow. Yeah, you don't feel it. You can write down mechanically on your sheet that for the duration of this, you don't know how many hit points you lose from something.
Okay.
And I will keep track of your points.
You said it closed over. Should I put myself back at full and then you'll keep track of my hit points?
You're at full hit points.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doing good for you. Nothing bad is happening. Everyone's
down.
crazy.
You keep saying that. I feel like Valis knows that like something's wrong.
Valis
He
absolutely knows that something's wrong.
He's just like I think, and he'll say this. He says, "Listen, I can see that there's shit wrong. Like I'm not saying that I'm not crazy, but you think it's going to continue on for 20 days and not either get worse or just stop? Like that's what you're telling me?"
I'm saying that if it gets worse, our best chance is to find a place that has the equipment to treat you appropriately. And if it gets better, then what have we done? We've wasted a couple of days. We've got thousands and thousands of days in the rest of our lives before us.
Some people have more days than others. I suppose you wanted to go to that place anyways. That's fine. He kind of just shakes his head and doesn't say anything else.
As Valis shakes his head, and we leave the game for this week, we flash back again, and this time, Conifer is sitting on a ship in quite a luxurious study across a table that might be used for chess if the two people weren't so interested in talking to each other, from the starry-skinned Ichthir Brune. And Ichthir Brune saying, Conifer, ultimately, journeys are sometimes utterly pointless. Sometimes you live your whole life thinking that one day the journey will have meaning, and your journey's meaning is to set the path for somebody else.
Interesting. The idea of purpose is truly a fascinating one, and I appreciate that you see one in me outside of what is obvious, and maybe one day I will see that too.
I think everything has its place, and the universe will take things away, and it will burn things, and it will destroy things. And from that destruction, things that need to happen will happen. If somebody is filled with hate and they do bad things, someone will be inspired to do good by those bad things. And I think that the path that we walk will always have meaning just for having walked it.
For sits with this for a moment. And good is something I think I will never quite understand, because those are subjective. And every day I still have to fight with the objective that I am programmed with. How have you found it best to have this moral compass guide you on a journey? Or how would anyone who wants to do good?
Well, as you know, I was born, and then I started walking the path that my people set for me, and I will walk that path till the day that I die. But there are people that walk the path they are forced to with no reticence and no thought of their own. And it is good to think of where your feet will tread, and it is bad to do so with disdain for the journey that you walk. There are people whose lives have been deeply tragic, that have been pirates and murderers, and then their feet continue and they become authors, and they become poets, and they become the kind of people that spread joy in a wide, enormous area to the galaxy. Do you think that one murder is balanced by 1,000 moments of joy created?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I think
But every day, when I step forward, I want to create more moments of joy than moments of sadness. And I have not been called to murder, but my path may take me there, as all of our paths might. I would murder someone to keep either of the twins safe, and like she gestures to where they're both reading. But I, for myself, would consider that to be bad still. Anyway, my point is that journeys don't have meaning until you choose to walk them on your own 2 feet. But I got you something. And she can't have gone anywhere. You met on this ship. So she's found something from amongst her things, and she pulls out this book, and it's beautiful and leather bound, and the paper is like wax paper, and she opens it, and it's empty, and she like flips through it, and on the front, in like very beautiful brush calligraphy, it says in a very small corner 3FL-A2, and then some of the other names that you've had, she's written in different calligraphy, and then Conifer, and she flips forward a page, and there's a pressed piece of a conifer plant. And she says, I don't know who you will be when your journey ends, any more than I know who I will be when my journey ends. But I believe that you're walking your journey for the right reasons.
I'm very glad that you have been a part of it.
She smiles and says, so am I. And the screen fades to black on this week's episode. Thank you all for joining us for the infinite flashbacks of 3FL, Conifer, Locust, and Red Clover.
What a touching end.
Sometimes I just want to play Ixtay Rune for a bit. Like,
That's also fair.
she doesn't really know what she's talking about either. That's why it's great. But no, I like that we can flash back to that because I think that that's an important moment. And I thought doing it at the end might suit a little bit better. We will be back next week for a session that will be the last one that we guaranteed have Andrew for. So that will be sad, but it means that we're going to start with the Valis flashback. I don't know what it's going to be yet. It's going to be a flashback to leaving that room and Valis stubbing his toe and breaking it.
Yeah.
Just to prove that
Just full dying.
Yeah, I hope everybody that has watched and does watch is enjoying the game so far. I really like all 5 of you as players, and I think you're building such interesting character dynamics that honestly, part of my brain's just like, next session, why don't I just not plan anything and you'll just talk for the whole session, and that's how Andrew's last session for a bit.
Oh, we got somewhere to go, so
yeah, I really liked this this little academic jaunt, and I think part of me prefers. I never want to play Not to Be Here, but I like the idea that Nyx wasn't here for this because A, you get to meet someone with their pin, which is cool, and B, Nyx I think knows about academic minutia in character better than all of you. And that would have been like the most traumatic, and I feel like I'm lumping a lot of trauma onto Nyx anyway. So everybody that's watching, join our Discord. We've had a lot of people come in recently. It's great. You can get some good pictures of dice, good character art, stuff like that, and you can talk about stuff if you like. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. If you've got a Twitch Prime floating around, feel free to send it our way. If you've got an extra amount of money that costs, feel free to subscribe that way.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's all of the plugs.
All right.
YouTube, Twitch, Discord. Join us next week. Imra Saga on Wednesday. Definitely not going to die.
Tuesday for the Americans.
Tuesday for the US folks.
Wednesday for the real world. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.